Hey, it's Pierre,
Hey, it's the man, Deja
Brother and the
Vu.
Man Show, Season 1, Episode 10, Take 2. So,
Take two.
behind the scenes shop talk. We have a very serious episode. We're very well into our thinking, and we're smiling because we've been recording for an hour, except we never hit the record button. So we're starting from scratch. This could be a short episode. So we're going to talk about some serious stuff, and we're going to try to cover all the bases we already covered. But most of the anger is already spent. So this is going to be a weird show.
About to
Um,
ramp it up again.
how you doing, Pierre?
I am doing, I'm doing great. Well, wait, let me bring that down. So, personally, I'm doing good. Thoughts go out to the president of the United States who's in the hospital with COVID-19 right now. Get well.
Yeah, get well and take your time. Um, we're recording on Friday, October 2nd, late on a Friday night. And
Right now.
things have really started moving quickly. We've been off for about a month. We were going to record some shows at the beginning of September, and those fell through. And we just had a lot of trouble getting back on top of that. And we just decided to take a break. So we are post break. We wanted to make a point of avoiding the presidential election until it became a thing. It's now very largely a thing. So here we are, episode 10. And what are you drinking? Like I don't
Before
already know.
like you don't already know. But before we do that, before we announce what I'm drinking, why don't we tell everybody we've got a guest? And it's a guest that hasn't been on in any platform, hasn't been on the old Brother and the Man show, not this new iteration, not even Real Talk with Pierre and Herb. This is a brand new guest, never been seen before. Welcome, Jason. Jason, say hello to all of the fans of the Brother and the Man show.
What's up? What's up? First time on Brother and the Man.
No, it's
Like
not.
Pierre
It's the second
said,
time.
second time, kind of. Take two, as he said. As Pierre said, that we didn't say the last time. I want to send my thoughts. My Christianity wants to pray for the president, but the Lord is still working on me. So let's keep it going. So
See, I'm a Christian, but I don't have any high road hopes. I hope he recovers completely. That's all I got.
We should
fair
recover.
enough.
Seriously, we're not animals here. Like
Yeah.
we don't,
Yeah.
we're not wishing this upon him. But no, he needs to get well so he
Oh,
can
no,
win
no,
this
no.
election.
Well, some of us wished exactly this on him. So, now that we've gotten here, I hope that he recovers completely.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, now we can talk about what we're drinking. What are you drinking?
I don't know. I got some white monster because apparently I'm white with my white beard and my big white butt. That's also from the previous episode, which will never be seen. The lost footage that wasn't recorded. White, 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 white. I'm a
And
minority now.
that whiteboard back there that I can see.
Whiteboard.
That's right.
You got
White
white shades
blinds back
too.
there.
You
Yeah,
know?
look at
Those are
that.
Yeah.
not white.
You just
Nice.
They're
letting us
gray.
they're
That
gray.
white
Oh,
crown
okay.
molding back there.
What crown
Look at
molding?
all that stuff.
Hey, it's all right because it's all white, right? So it's all
Yeah.
good.
Apparently, all black people can't see. That's gray. There's no crown molding.
It
Is
don't
that
look like
gray?
gray from back here.
Yeah.
It don't look like
Yeah.
gray.
Looks white to
Oh,
me. I mean,
well,
anyway.
don't take my word for it. Yes, it's white.
It's your camera. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
It's your house.
drinking from, again, still drinking or just drinking this thing called,
gray.
it's some malt whiskey called Hayama. This is from like Sean Nuan, who works for me in Santa Monica office. You know him, Jason. I think you guys met before, but I'm
No,
drinking
that's my guy.
Hayama. And him knowing that I'm black, he made sure it was like malt, but it's like whiskey instead of malt
Definitely
liquor.
malt.
That's
So
racist.
there.
Definitely. Not Schlitz. Not Schlitz. But
Not
definitely malt.
Schlitz. Japanese. So
You know
there.
what I'm saying?
Good stuff. So
So
what are you
racist.
drinking, Jason?
Yo, I got some E&J over here, and but
Okay.
it's
All
in
right.
it's in my imagination, So I normally just drink water, man. It's just not E&J. But if I were drinking, I'd be drinking the Jack and Coke. As Pierre know, that's my drink. So
That's his drink. Good stuff.
yeah,
Anyway, shout out
So,
to Irv. So Irv's met Jason. Corb's met Jason. We had a good time when we kicked it out there last October. Gonna say this to Corb just so he don't remember when the 49ers obliterated the Browns
man,
31
that was a
to
tough
3.
game.
That was a tough game for you, Corb. So there.
And on another note, Pierre sold me tickets to a game where I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, and we got blown out like 55 to like 10. And I met Kyle Allen's parents, and he was doing all good and stuff, and they was bragging about him trying to get rid of Cam. And then Kyle Allen played like complete and absolute trash. So, but thank you, Pierre, for that. I appreciate it. That's how we got close.
That is. So there you go. And Kyle Allen's
right.
parents, hey, told you. All right.
So as we alluded to earlier, we hit the big record button. Apparently, it didn't take. So shame on the record company. I don't know. We're doing the best we can. A technical flaw. So you're getting a fresh take on some old discussions, but we have three topics.
Doing your best Trump impersonation by not taking responsibility, huh?
Hey, Pierre, I meant to ask you why your videos suck.
Oh,
come back to me when come back to me when you're technically capable of being an equal participant. Okay.
Wowzers! You were cold as ice.
All right. So we've made a point of avoiding in any great depth or detail the presidential election. And the podcast ended when Obama was getting elected, and there was a violent incident, and we had to go off the air, and we never came back on. Now we're back on, but we wanted to
interrupt. I hate to interrupt you, but we got some breaking news here.
Good.
Kellyanne Conway, former senior advisor to Trump, says she has tested positive for coronavirus.
That ain't that breaking. That was news before we started recording an hour ago.
Did they have like some type of after party or something where they was all chilling?
Just blowing each other's face.
Maybe your
like God, don't breathe on me.
Maybe your Twitter works as good as your video, and you're not up to speed.
Did you report it? No, you didn't.
No, I didn't get a chance because we're going in sequential order, genius.
Well, ladies,
we haven't got to COVID yet.
Let's go, ladies. Let's go.
Oh, ladies. Here, watch this.
Let's go, bro.
All right, so
why you do that?
They call me ladies, motherfucker. And now I got to put on YouTube when I post this thing. It's not friendly for children. Can you play? Can you play nice?
Okay.
Okay. Don't mess with the showrunner. All right,
I forgot it was my first time. I forgot.
This is about as good a show as what that debate was. Okay, so let's get into the first thing because I got to get up in the morning.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's going to be great again.
All right.
Make the show great again.
So, typical year, if anybody remembers a typical year, 2016, you have a race or two. If you have a president that's leaving, like in 2016, you have people that enter into primary process. 3 of them, 30 of them. As of late, they all yell at each other. They have big old debates that are completely ineffective. You begin to weed people down, people drop out. And sometime in the late spring, early summer, you have a clear candidate. Everybody takes a little bit of a break. They go on the talk shows. They have some conventions. They pick their vice presidents. And then in the late summer, early fall, you begin the second half, which is the actual race between the 2 or 3 candidates. That's not what's happened this year because COVID has tamped everything down. You knew who your candidates were fairly early on, and nobody was trying to be in the public place. So it just wasn't a lot of coverage. That has all changed in the last week, and we knew that this was coming. We were going to do presidential shows, but things got real interesting real fast. And we're going to start with where it started, which is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a longtime justice of the Supreme Court, who has been ill with cancer, has passed away. And so I would say rest in peace. Philosophically don't agree with a lot of what she said, although I'm not a lawyer, but I just am generally a balls and strikes conservative as far as law interpretation. I'm a constitutionalist as far as law interpretation. She's not. She was a liberal. She found a lot of wiggle room in the Supreme Court. She was also best friends with Justice Scalia, who also has passed away 4 years ago. It speaks to her willingness to be above politics, to philosophically disagree with someone, but be best friends with them, to entangle your family with his, to travel with him, to call him your buddy. And yet disagree with him in almost every situation where you're working and where your job is to agree or disagree with philosophy, you were his opponent. I mean, he was as much opponent as he could be, and yet they were best friends. I think she was probably a very good person, and I hate to see anyone who's in a position of power like that, someone who's a leader, someone who is looking out for our better interests, pass away, because we have too few of those people, and we have fewer of them every year as they pass on. And I don't know that they're being replaced by good people. I hate to see her go. So before we get into the politics of her passing, let's talk about her, if anybody has anything they want to add to that.
The notorious RBG. My wife liked her. She's a big policy person because she's an attorney. So rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Before I get into the politics, seemed like a good woman. She broke a lot of barriers, a lot of glass ceilings for women as far as like the courts is concerned. Kind of, not to get political, but kind of crazy that the person that's being nominated is going to come in and try to, like, bring that ceiling back down. But keeping it on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Rest in peace.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about her. I know Clinton put her in, and I know that she must have been a good person because there's a partner in our attorney's office that had like pillow sets of her in her office. So I felt like she was probably a really good woman.
She's
So
definitely an
I
icon
mean,
for
rest in peace.
women's rights and the
That was
women's lib movement. They made a movie about that recently, which, she's an icon, and she will maintain that iconic status. Okay, so what does this mean? What happens? Help me with names, but 4 years ago, Justice Scalia died suddenly without warning, early in the year 2016, the last election year. Then President Obama, using his constitutional right, nominated Garland to
Merrick
become
Garland.
the new what?
Merrick Garland.
Very good. To be the Supreme Court nominee. And the then Republican Senate resisted successfully, kept him off of the floor. He did not get a vote. They pushed back. They pushed back for philosophical reasons. They said that it is not appropriate, I'm paraphrasing, to nominate a Supreme Court justice during an election year because at that late point in the term, things may have changed, and there's an opportunity for the American people to express their opinion through an election. So let's wait till the election's over. We're not talking about years. Let's just wait a few months. Let's have the election, and then we'll let the next president, whether it's your party or our party, nominate, and then we'll do due diligence, and we'll take the high road. But until that time, Mr. President, we're going to politely decline to let you send through a nominee. They staked out a philosophical ground. Thou shalt not be a hypocrite is one of the commandments from our old podcasts, and it is still in effect for the vidcasts. I hate hypocrites. The only thing I hate worse than hypocrites are professional victims. Take responsibility for your situation and for your life, and be honest with what you believe. Figure out what you believe and why you believe it. State it to yourself. Stake your ground, and then apply that philosophy in everything that comes up, and be consistent with it. And that's the opposite of what politicians do, especially right now, Republican politicians who are sitting in the Senate. They are going to go ahead and let this president, I use the term loosely, nominate his guy, or in this case, girl, to replace Justice Ginsburg late in an election cycle because it's an opportunity. That throws the entire election into chaos. It is absolutely hypocritical, and I hate hypocrites.
Right, exactly. And Mitch McConnell, he couldn't wait to get in front of the whole world and show how much of a hypocrite he was. I don't like Mitch McConnell. I think he's trash. I think he's terrible. And
I agree 1,000%.
He's trash.
I mean, it just goes to show his character
Garbage.
and everything. I mean, I can't even, begin to, express to people how much I want to cut that shit off below his neck. That's like how much I hate this guy, and I know that's getting personal, but, try not to get personal. Like I said, he's a hypocrite, and I have no respect for anyone like that because he said all these other things the last election cycle. And knowing that it could be a possibility this coming election cycle, and what does he do? He does not care how he looks, doesn't care how he looks to his constituents, to his peers, to people that may want to switch parties or anything. He does not care. He doesn't care how he looks as long as he gets his way or whatever that is. So F Mitch McConnell with both of these.
F Mitch McConnell. F Mitch McConnell. But you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit different here from what we did previously. I'm gonna blame this on the Democrats, right? And I'm gonna blame it on Democrats. You know why? Because Democrats always fall for that bait and switch, that okey
Mm-hmm.
doke that Republicans do. They'll say, "Oh yeah, we're honorable. We'll do this." They could have been like, "Nah, we're not doing that." I don't care what they say. They're gonna do the exact same thing if somebody else dies, and that's where we lie right now. So instead of having a 5-5 or 5-4 split, we're gonna have a 6-3 split because Republicans were like, "Hey, this is our opportunity. We're going to do what we got to do." You know,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I always say is that Republicans are so good at buttoning stuff up, even if they don't agree with the things that are happening like that. They're like, "Well, I'm Republican, so I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna follow suit. So I'm good."
Mm-hmm.
And Mitch McConnell is no different from anybody else. He sucks, and I don't like him. And if he came to my face, I tell him, "Check this out, Mitch. I don't like it. You suck."
So if we're
Exactly.
going to talk about Mitch McConnell as the leader of the Senate, who is obviously going to counteract his own statements and not even apologize for it. Chutzpah, balls, hypocrisy, inaction. Let's talk about his minion and the head of I believe, the guy that's in charge of the committee that would hear Supreme Court justices and Pierre's favorite guy. Let's talk about Lindsey Graham.
Hmm.
Lindsey Graham looks like a troll. I tried to respect him, but he was friends, best friends with John McCain, who I'm a big fan of, and he is capable of being philosophically genuine, or at least appearing to be so. But then again, he opposed Donald Trump, thought Donald Trump was an ass clown during the election, and now he's on Donald Trump's jock. What does that tell me? It means that they close ranks and they take what they need to take for the team at minimum, which means that they're sellouts, they're hypocrites. They put party before their own philosophy. I suppose that they think that that's the right thing for the country. So maybe that's maybe that's the best case scenario. But scrolling across the screen is his quote on what he would do if there was an opening in the court in the last year. If an opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process started in March at the latest, we'll wait until the next election. He said that 2 years ago this week, 2 years ago tomorrow. And he's clearly not going to do that. His quote for him a couple of weeks ago that contradicts that is, I had the quote here somewhere. I apologize. In light of these two events, I will support Donald Trump in an effort to move forward regarding the recent vacancy created by the passing of Justice Ginsburg. That's him on Twitter on September 19th, 2020. The guy is a hypocrite. I can't stand these people. And it's so cut and dry. There's so many, well, your side did that, so we did this, and it's back and forth, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
different situation. There's no different situation. You clearly defined your ground. Last year of a presidency, no new nominees. Last year of presidency, we're going to have a new nominee. All things are equal except for the side of the president and the side of the potential nominee. And now you're 180 degrees flip-flopping. I got no respect for these people. I couldn't vote for them if you paid me at this point.
No. And the thing about it is, like, they couldn't even wait until the woman was dead. And I'm being serious about this because I remember monitoring the Twitters and all that stuff. I don't think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was dead 2 hours before they were like, there will be a vote on the president's nominee. They could not. They couldn't even respect her enough to let her get through the weekend. She died on a Friday. They could not let her get through the weekend. They could let her get to Saturday of being dead before they were propping out like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to show you how much of hypocrites that we are. We're going to show this to you.
Yeah.
So that way you know exactly where we stand. We don't care about you. We don't care about what we said before. All we care about is furthering our agenda. And at some point, our country has to be better than furthering a personal agenda and start doing something for the people of this country. At some point, we've started electing people based off being told what to do instead of holding them accountable for their words and their actions and not doing what we put them in office for. And I didn't vote
Well,
for this clown. I'm just saying in general.
we don't vote for the person anymore. No one votes for the person anymore. You vote against the other person. You vote against their philosophy. You vote in favor of your philosophy. And this is what this guy is, the one guy that can win for you. That's what's going on now with pro-Trump people. You should take it as a whole. Nobody vets the person. If you did, this guy had never got anywhere near the White House. We're so desensitized to the crap he pulls. I mean, it's Sodom and Gomorrah. If God was going to come down, I don't know why he's not on top of us right now, because it's just, there's no intellectual consistency. There's no intellectual high ground. There's no moral high ground for anybody anymore. It's just the grossest politics. And it's in an internet age. So it's all on high speed. Everything we're going to talk about on this show happened in less than 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and trust me when I tell you, if you worried about God coming back with all this stuff, Jesus is definitely putting his slippers on right now and winding up that fireball that's coming at us because they are off the hook. And I like to just interject a little pop culture reference like this. The Republicans, they're like the Skulls. You ever seen that movie, The Skulls, where they put the ring on and like this secret society? That, like you said about closing up ranks, that's what they do. You don't get out of the Skulls once you get in the Skulls, and they're like NWO for life up in this piece. They do not care. They, you know what I'm saying? The Republicans are so good. It is. They're for life.
Yeah, but
life.
NWO, everybody and their uncle was a member of NWO, and there were three versions of it before his own work.
Exactly my point. Just like I said about the Skulls, you don't even know who's in there at this point. Who knows? There's some black skulls out there. There's some black.
No. NWO.
Yeah,
are they the black NWO or the Wolf Pack?
No, the original NWO,
I know
Eric Bischoff
what you mean.
style,
Yes,
Hollywood Hogan style.
And the Outsiders. I get it.
Those guys. That's just how they are. They close up ranks and they do exactly whatever that initiative is for the moment. Like they say, we'll put our stuff aside and we'll take it for the team, and then you'll put me on this committee later, and you'll put me the head of this later, and they do it right. And it's you blame them because of their ethics, but at the same time, it's all fair in politics. There's nothing off the table at this point.
Right.
Your point is taken. So it was a dead space there at WO. Oh man, I did not see that coming, but thank you very much. Man, I don't know what to do with that. There's so many things I want to talk about the NWO now. Bret Hart was in the NWO for 3 minutes.
Remember Virgil? He was in the NWO and everything.
They even brought like a version to the WWE after like Vince bought the company, and they had Shawn Michaels in it. It's like, good Lord.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
They're all in there. That's how many people are there. That's how many they got. The Republicans got. They got moles everywhere. They're like how Wakanda was in Black Panther, and they like you didn't know he was actually Wakandan instead of just American. He was Wakandan. There you go.
All right.
For life, man.
That's the Republican Party. Conan.
That's the Republican Party. Look at Rick Rude in the background, chilling. Chilling for life. Look how happy they are. That's the Republican Party. They're so happy. Right. And they make Democrats miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it make the Democrats?
A good thing.
Four Horsemen
is like, but no, not really, because you make a good point though. Democrats are falling for okie dokes all the time with these clowns. It's like, how many times you got to fall for that before you say, "Hey, we're not doing this shit no more. We're gonna try something different."
I don't know. I just know that I go back to my. I'm a simpleton, and I'm naive, and I'm not intelligent. So I go back to the idea that I want a philosophically honest world. Right? We have a concept that we all agree on, whereby all people should be judged as individuals, and immutable physical characteristics like color of your skin and the white in your beard Shouldn't matter. But we can't get to that point. And it's because people judge each other based upon color. Color defines our culture, our experiences. People that are part of minority groups because of the color of their skin or whatever characteristic have a viewpoint that is forced upon them that they can't get away from. So the idea of a colorless world just isn't realistic in my lifetime. But philosophically, I still will live my life every day based upon that philosophy as much as is practically possible. We don't do that.
I want to speak to something you just said about a colorless society, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I think, in all honesty, that's really the problem with society, is that we want it to be like most people want it to be colorless rather than actually embracing the differences in people and the like, that there are different colors of people out there. Like, nobody cares that that you think I'm black or that you don't see that I'm black. Nobody cares about that. We actually want you to see that we're black and see that and see, like, hey, he's different from me, but I still respect him and I respect their differences. They like it just that I think that's the part of where society gets it all wrong. You're supposed to see the colors in people. You're supposed to see the differences and be mindful of those differences and say, this culture's this culture's that, and let's be who we're supposed to be.
Let me be very accurate and let me clarify. I'm fully aware of those things. I would be insanely naive and stupid to not be aware of everything that happens around me, and to make judgments that are inappropriate based on them because they're practical judgments. To make judgments, I'm not going to speak a certain way. I'm not going to use certain terms around a person that's black because I'm going to be concerned that they're going to be offended. I'm going to be concerned that it's going to create a difficult situation. Let me put that a different way, because I generally wouldn't use that language anyway for the reason I spoke to. But let's say that the third person in the room does use it. I'm going to be much more aware of the sensitivity in the situation based upon that person saying those things in front of you because you're black, as opposed to we're sitting with a white guy and it's probably not going to affect you as much. I get it. We should be aware. Black people have a certain thing that they go through in American society. White people have a different something. So when I'm talking to and we're doing politics and all those things, you have to be aware that you're black, I'm white, this guy's Asian, you're from Puerto Rico. I'm aware of those things. I'm talking about how I will judge you as an individual. I'm aware that you're black. I have a sense of that means certain things. I have a sense that I cannot understand certain things that you go through. So it would be preposterous and disingenuous for me to think that I do. I get all of those things. That's what we talk about in the show. That's the whole point of this show. But I will not judge you based on the color of skin. I will go out of my way not to judge you based on the color of your skin. I get it. I am overly nice to black people who are taking care of me in a drive-through. I call them sir and ma'am way more than I call white people sir and ma'am, because I want to be respectful to them. Where I really don't care if I'm all that respectful to white people, because I don't think they're getting that much disrespect all the time. I want to leave that black person with the best impression I can give them so that they think that there's a white person that's a good person out there. Because I'm concerned that all black people hate all white people. So I do my little bit to try to fix that, right? And I know that's stupid, but that speaks to your point. I'm aware that black people are black people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you should be. You should be. I mean, and we're not talking about you in general.
I know. I'm the white person that gets the pass.
Yeah, you're the one. But
the one.
But no,
me and Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
We would never talk about it in general. I think that like you said, what it comes down to, if you're a good person, you're a good person, and a lot of times, like, that's why we're not talking about Mitch McConnell because he's white, or not at all.
No.
I mean, he just so happens to be white, but we are talking about him because he's a terrible person, just like Trump. He's a terrible person, and if you like him, you might be a terrible person too, because he's a terrible person. Like, forget the politics. Is he a decent person? Is he halfway decent? No, he's not. That's not Mitch McConnell.
Right.
No, right. All right. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. That creates an opening in the Supreme Court. The Republicans declared scoreboard. They're going to pursue it. I think that's that argument's kind of settled, but it points out the hypocrisy, and it moves us into what happened 6 days later, maybe less than a week later, which was the debates. Now, Pierre and I, a little behind the scenes shop. Pierre and I know that we need to do a show. We've been talking about, you want to do a show? I can't. I had to work late last night. Oh, I got to get up early in the morning. Okay, well, let's do it in 2 days. Okay, well, now it's the weekend, and no, it didn't work out. So we keep kicking the can. Now the debate's happening. We've got to record something. Do we want to record the night of the debate, an hour before it's starting? Do we want to get on and try to cut a show quickly and talk about what we think is going to happen? Do we want to cut something, watch it, and cut some things while we're doing it, and then do a pre, during, and post commentary? Do we want to just wait until tonight and record late? No, we'll wait until tomorrow. So we decided to record this episode the day after the debate, which would have been Wednesday. Today's Friday, so a couple of days ago. And after what we saw with that debate, look, I was shell shocked. I needed 2 days just to clear my head. And that's a true statement. I didn't know what to do with what I saw until I watched it a second time. And I generally don't watch debates. They got me to watch it twice. So that's one thing for them. Talk about what you saw. And we talked about it before. So remember what we talked about.
Right. No, that was rough, right? I mean, you leave that. I don't want to say scared, but that was a scary situation to look at because you left that debate thinking, what the fuck just happened?
Yep.
That's what you saw. You saw two old men going after each other the way that they did, not looking presidential at all. And this is who I'm supposed to trust in order to run this country. One guy is already doing a terrible job, in my opinion, and he gets up there and reinforces that. The other guy seems like he's trying to be the adult, but clearly bothered by how this guy is acting. And it didn't bother me when he told Trump to like shut up, to be honest with you. That really didn't bother me because honestly, I think he voiced what everybody was thinking when they were watching that debate, to be totally honest with you. That was difficult to watch. As an American, I was very, I felt embarrassed watching that. That's what we put on the national scene. That's what we projected to the world to say, hey, here are your two best. At this particular point, I think you're voting for to see which vice president is going to be the best president going forward, because both of these are some pretty old guys. One of them, I think Biden's 77 and Trump's in the hospital with COVID, which we'll touch on here in a moment.
74.
That was a shit show. It was pretty bad, and a lot of people have used that term, and I'm going to use it as well. That was pretty bad. That was rough. That was insane, and I don't know if I can take another debate like that.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight part 3, when Pacquiao was completely and utterly out of his prime and just got his butt kicked, and we were just like, what is this that we're watching? I didn't watch it at first. I recorded it, and then about an hour and a half later, when everybody went to bed, I started watching it. I was like, I had to turn it off halfway through it because it was like, what is happening here? Like, it's like these two old men fighting with canes in the parking lot, and it's like, no, you're gonna die first. No, you're gonna die first. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who cares?
So I said earlier, and I maintain this statement, Biden did not look good. Biden did not look sharp. He looked like, I said 2 weeks ago or a month ago when we recorded, that I was just waiting for the debate. Pierre, you can play back the tape. I was waiting for the debate because Biden is not going to be the geriatric dementia patient that they have been painting him as. And by showing up and being sharp, he was going to shatter the meme, and so doing, look really, really good, right? He's going to look good in comparison. He didn't look good in comparison. He looked about as sharp as a sack of wet hammers. And he just, it looked like elderly abuse. Trump was irrational. He was visceral. He was just slapping at anything that moved. He was purely a bully. He was name calling, lots of rehearsed things that he could throw, and just without any tact. But it was effective because Biden was totally snowballed and didn't look good. So taken as a whole, it's not impressive because one of these two guys is going to end up being president, in the most likely scenarios. So you still fall back on, I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. I'm voting for the guy that's not Trump. And that's not necessarily the ideal. You want somebody to be strong, moderate, bring the country together. And he may be that when he's not in the middle of a thunderstorm, but in the middle of a thunderstorm, he looked like somebody who was hunkering down. We talked about earlier, we'll talk about it again, but who won, who lost? Well, the country lost. I don't know that anybody won. It was a shit show. It was a fucking mess. It was gross.
Yeah, like you felt terrible watching it. Like you said, I think the country lost. I don't know.
Right.
If you want to say who won in terms of who was louder and interrupted more, well, Trump won that because that's how he does things. If you want to say who was trying to be the adult in the room and trying not to go down that route, well, if that's how you watch the debate, then Biden won. But
Right.
I don't know how you watch it and come away like, oh, that person definitively won. No, the country lost.
The polls will tell you that Donald Trump is losing the race and that he is coming in at about 40% as opposed to Biden's about 55%. There's not a lot of people who are not decided. Voting is already happening. And yet Trump has got to somehow make up substantial ground, at least 7 points on Biden. And he's got to do it now because, again, people are voting. And he didn't do that with his performance. He reinforced his credentials with his core base. He was an asshole. He picked on Biden. He made fun of him. He said, you're always wearing a mask. I bet he wishes he had worn a mask now. But at the time, deniers probably high-fived each other and all did a shot because he picked on Biden like that was anything. He was consistent Trump. He was at his loudest. He was turned up to 11. That gets him nothing where he needs it. That doesn't help him win the election. So I think he lost in that sense. It was a lack of a win. He didn't move anybody his direction. And without doing that, he's likely to lose this race if you believe the polls at all. And I kind of do because they're consistent.
I think that both candidates, had their chances to say something substantial in there. There was one time where Trump was talking when they were talking about RBG dying, and he was like, I've put over 300. Like the problem with Democrats is they left over 300 vacancies into the federal judging pool basically, and I filled those vacancies. And I was like, man, he kind of had a point there. Like we Democrats had a chance to do that, and then Joe Biden basically could have came back at him like, hey, look, all those things are great, but check this out. We're in the middle of a national pandemic, or a world pandemic. 200,000 people have died on your watch. The country is in a shambles on your watch. You have race riots happening on your watch. That's like, even if they didn't say anything about the policies, those things that aren't Trump's base are substantial. Because those people want to say, hey, you know what? This is true. You are responsible for what happens while you are the president of the United States. And like Biden said, he said it in like one small thing. He said, I'm not the president of the United States. I'm running for election. You're the president of the United States. And so all this stuff is happening to you because of you. And it may not be happening directly because of Trump, but it is happening with him. I think that if Trump had mentioned, all he had to do was mention his platinum plan, and that would have endeared to his black voters. But we'll get into that, after when we talk about the other thing. But that's like all he had to do was really stick to the policy points. And even Joe Biden was trying to be the adult in the room, but he didn't get anything accomplished either by talking about the stuff that he had planned.
No, Joe Biden didn't deliver. And I don't know that he was capable of. There's criticism of Joe Biden because what are Joe Biden's plans? I heard a little bit about how he's going to raise taxes on rich people and corporations, which I agree with. So that's good. But he didn't really enumerate that. He's not enumerated a lot of things. He's clearly running on I'm a not Trump ticket and a philosophy. He should have gone with that if that's all he's got. And as somebody who would have been more awake and sharper, would have been able to ding this guy back, because before, when Trump had no credentials and his arguments were all philosophical in 2016, he was hard to stand up against, especially as a fellow Republican. But as a Democrat running against a guy who's got nothing to show except he lowered taxes and inflated the national debt because of it, that's his only achievement. There's any number of things to hammer this guy. His son was picked on because he was a recovered addict. Dude, your brother just died from being an alcoholic his entire life. There are any number of sharp comebacks that this guy could have delivered,
Yeah, one of the big
and he
ones that
didn't.
right, one of the big ones he could have delivered. Going back to it, talking about the deaths, like Trump made a point to hammer Biden and Obama, saying like, "Hey, how you handle the swine flu was terrible. 14,000 people died." Like, number one, I can believe Trump even brought up a number because that got set right on a tee, and Mike Trout came up and could have hit that out of the park. And instead, all Biden had to say was, okay, 14,000 people died of swine flu. It's terrible that even one person died. But 200,000 Americans have died alone
It's
because of
unacceptable.
this.
It's unacceptable.
Right, it's unacceptable. Like you said, on his watch, because of your conduct, how you don't take this seriously. You're hammering me on not wearing a mask. Fast forward a couple of days while he didn't know this was going to happen, because Trump was that reckless in his debate prep and how he handles things, how he doesn't take anything seriously. He's in the hospital with the coronavirus now.
See, he's got these statistics, Biden does, that are just damning. We have 1/4. He said this one. We have 1/4, 5%, 4% of the world's population. We have 20% of the deaths, something to that effect. We have, a huge amount of deaths. And it didn't start here. You said it was China. Okay, so why are we the leader in deaths? Why are we the leader in every negative metric that the world can judge? Why is he not hammering this guy with this stuff? Why is he not well rehearsed on this? And that makes me worried, because I could debate Trump better than this guy. I may not win because I can't bluster as good as he does. And I know you get nervous, but Biden's an experienced expert at this. He does interviews well, but when he's on the stage, and all he has to do is counter the guy, and the arguments are well known. Why is he not hammering this guy? It's because he can't, like it's not in his personality to debate, or he's not sharp.
So
It made this debate made me a big fan of Kamala Harris, because I think that she's probably president in the wings, because this guy's old and he's showing it, and that's what scares me. He's still better than Trump. I'm still going to vote for him.
so here's the question that I have. So if 200,000 people died, like to use that in a debate, it's a good point to put down. But even hammering it home, does that even really matter to the Republican base that
No.
Trump is about?
No,
And I
but
think,
again, go back to my point. The people that are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. The goal for Trump is to scrape off me, to scrape off my mom, to scrape off some moderate Republican that's turning their backs on him, and bring us back into the fold, right? So by pointing out that Trump allowed 200,000 of our fellow Americans, 3,000 people died in the Twin Towers, and we're still fighting that war 20 years later. 200,000 Americans died. If he had been smart and cut that number in half, he would get more credit.
Joe Biden did say that, though.
Well, but he didn't say it well. He didn't articulate it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think Joe Biden is much of a speaker, though, and even as a president, I don't think he'll be much of a speaker. I think that if you hear certain things, like it's like what you said, you're a fan of Kamala Harris because she, as a prosecutor, she knows how to address somebody. She knows how to address things. She knows how to ask questions. She knows how to hammer a point home, and I believe that that's what's going to happen in the next debate with the vice president, if it even happens at this point. But I think even with all of this, I think that Trump's biggest thing is subterfuge. He just is the ultimate illusionist. To all the things he did to Biden at that debate were more to take the attention off of him and put it on Biden at the point. Like, look, he's not smart enough to do this. He's Bobby, Joe, check this out. Joe, you're doing this. Joe, your son did this. Like, and I personally am one that's kind of like, Trump played that card very well, even as a spectator, even for somebody who can't stand Trump, like he played that card and flustered Joe very well enough so that Joe would not put his points across. He would not get everything across. He'd be too busy fighting what Trump and rebutting what Trump just said to get his policies and his plan across. And I know a lot of us, as people who watch it as spectators, want them to go at each other and stuff. We want them to stick to the politics. We really do. But sometimes, that again, that's the problem I have with Democrats. They worried about fighting fair sometimes when it's almost not a fair fight. You know, like
Right.
like if somebody's throwing dirt at you and bricks at you, are you gonna come back to them with just throw sand at them? No, you pick up a brick yourself and throw that brick.
That's why I told Biden when he called me that he shouldn't do the debates in the first place, because this guy's not debatable. And he obviously didn't listen, but that was my advice to Vice President Biden. I don't think there's any benefit in him doing a debate. I don't think there's anything to be gained. I'm a boxing fan. My favorite boxer out of the last generation was Lennox Lewis because he was a great technical boxer. Boring as hell to watch. If you're looking for a Mike Tyson, explosion, you're not going to get it from him. He's going to be clinical. He's going to absolutely be sophisticated over 12 rounds, and he's going to jab you until you don't have any points. He's going to win on points, and he's going to be a great champion. If you're a pure boxing fan and you follow the science, if you're looking for extravaganza, you're not going to get that from Lennox Lewis. You're not going to get an extravaganza from Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, if he's a older, not quite as sharp Lennox Lewis, Donald Trump is, the Tasmanian devil. He's like the whole NWO coming at you. He's going to kick and scream and fight and roll, and there's no fight there. So why are we even having this? So what he should do now, and I told him this when he called me yesterday, was now that you've been rolled over and the rules are not going in your favor, and you said you'll debate, but you need to have better rules. And Trump said, no, I'm not changing the rules. Why should I change the rules? I won. He's right from a certain perspective. Why would he give up that advantage? Now you step out. Okay, you know what? That's fine. We don't have to. It's COVID. All the rules are off the table. You're not a president. You don't act presidential. I don't have to follow the convention. So I will see you on election day, mother grabber. And that's it. They shouldn't have any more debates. There's nothing to be gained.
Do you think, and this is just me thinking, do you think it's dirty politics if Biden hits Trump on the fact, like, you got COVID, you can't even protect yourself, you won't even wear a mask. So if you can't even follow those simple rules, you're arguing with your experts. What makes you think you can protect this country? What makes you think you even have a plan to where we're not even going to be in the same situation next year? Is that dirty or is that fair?
I think that's exactly where he should go, as a matter of fact. And I know, like, it won't endear to everybody. Oh, he's kicking a guy when he's down. You know what? Kick that dude straight up.
You think
kick him?
You think he wouldn't do the same?
Kick him. He would definitely do the same. And go ahead.
There's a difference. Donald Trump gets away with anything he wants because we are so desensitized to his being an asshole that it doesn't matter, right? So if Biden gets COVID, Donald Trump is going to be campaigning outside his hospital room and calling him an idiot, and no one's going to care. That's going to make his core popular. But as soon as Biden does that, he claims to be the victim. I'm in the hospital with COVID. Look at this guy. Look how unpresidential he is. And all of the people that would give Trump a pass will go, oh, how terrible. Look at this. These people are freaking out because his son got paid by Ukrainians to be in the energy sector when he has no relative experience. He's on the hook for Ukraine. He's on the hook for China. Oh my God, this guy's corrupt. This other guy on the other side was indicted and what do you call it? Impeached for being on the hook with Russians. Well, I didn't do it. So he gets a pass. The rules are different. It's hypocrisy in action. If Biden tap dances on the guy, they will hold it against him, and it will put off some people who are his fans, where the shoe on the other foot would not put off any Trump fans. Trump fans are not going to be upset if Trump is an asshole because he's an asshole every day. But as soon as Biden does something that's not the high road, there's going to be some people that are going to be put off and that are going to look away. They're going to push away from the table. It would happen. That's why he's not going to do it.
You know what? It's like what Pierre said last recording, is that when he told him, he said this clown, and then when he told him to shut up, it was what all the Americans out there were really thinking. And that's why I'm not saying that he should be a baby about it and like hammer him like in a really negative way. He could say, you know what? Look at the president. He has COVID. And the reason he has COVID is because he was not careful. and this is what my plan is. In order to stop this, we have to be more diligent and careful about this. In order to get beyond this pandemic, this global pandemic that has killed, and then hammer it home, that has killed 200,000 people, left people with extra pre-existing conditions than what they had before, exacerbated those things. People on vents, people with diabetes, here, there, everywhere, all kinds of stuff happening to them. If he had been more careful, I don't wish this upon him, but this is a perfect example of what happens when you are not the adult in the room and when you are not careful about things, when you care more about putting things on Twitter than you care about taking care of the country in which you were purposed to take care of.
Now, you say that during a debate, but you do not say that outside of his hospital room right now. If you do that,
right, of course,
it becomes a commercial, and they will play it until he's dead. I swear to God.
No, definitely say it during the
you
debate.
Cannot come out and say
another debate.
You can't come out and say no mask, COVID, scoreboard, because that makes you look like an asshole. And if Biden looks like an asshole, he loses people. If Trump looks like an asshole, nothing happens.
Who's he losing? The celebrities? Who's he losing? The celebrities?
He's gonna lose those. He will lose a small portion of moderate white people who are put off by those things. Christians who think that maybe Donald Trump isn't that Christian, but maybe Biden is. Now, if he looks unchristian, I'm serious. There are going to be some people that are going to be like, why did he do that? That's not good. And they'll stay home and not vote for him. And I'm serious.
I see what you're trying to say, but I think those people are already looking for a reason to vote for Trump anyway, to where it's like they've already decided they're going to vote for him. They're trying to come up with a reason to where I don't look like I'm a racist, or I don't look like I'm a bad guy, or I don't look like a hypocrite.
Remember when we talked about that different people move in different circles, and you can't know what all white people think. As much as black people know the white mindset more than white people know the black mindset.
This isn't even a black-white thing right now.
It is. I'm telling you that there are people that are in the middle, that are white, that are middle class, that are upper class, who voted for Trump and that are not fans of Trump, but are extremely concerned about the tone, and they are capable of not voting. And we need everybody that can vote for Trump, against Trump, to vote against him, to vote for Biden. And if things get caustic and Biden looks worse, people, I'm thinking of very specific individuals I know, may stay home, or they may vote for Pierre, or they may vote for a libertarian. And I'm telling you, those things are real. And the polls are close enough that if you shave off 3 or 4% in some critical states, he could win, because his people will turn out. He will get huge numbers of votes on election day.
So okay, I guess I kind of it leads me to ask questions. So and I can't speak for white people, they're not white, but you may be able to have some insight on this.
I speak for all white people.
Fair enough. Do white people have this way of ignoring certain things? Like clearly, because 2016, white people were concerned about the use of White House email for personal use.
You're right.
I ordered a vacuum for my home on Amazon, and the email came to hillaryclinton.whitehouse.org. But if they're so concerned, are they so concerned with those minute details? She shouldn't use her BlackBerry for that type of use. Oh my gosh, you know how many people in this country are in trouble for that?
No. So you're giving us too much credit. It has nothing to do with the details. It has to do with the fact that Hillary Clinton did government business, in some cases sensitive business, on an unsecured mail server, and her BlackBerry, because she wanted to have a BlackBerry. So the question becomes to be asked then by people who are in the know, political people, IT people, why is she doing that? There's two potential reasons. Number one, she wanted the BlackBerry and couldn't have it, so she did it because it was convenient. She broke the rules because she wanted to have what she wanted, which means that she puts herself above priorities and appropriate rules, and or she's got something she's covering up and she doesn't want people to see, and therefore she's going around the official record. Either of those is not a good thing, and therefore there's a real concern. Hillary Clinton's using of that BlackBerry in her own private mail server was a bad thing. She should have been in trouble for that. I say that as a non-Hillary fan and as an IT person who can speak to what I understand what she did. I could do exactly what her guy did for her, and I know exactly why she likely did it.
So that's kind of similar to
when I
using your
say that,
BlackBerry to tweet things about the country.
yeah, but I'm not the president of the United States, or I'm not the Secretary of State.
it's apples to apples. It's like
No. It's
as an
not.
IT person, okay, you can block external email as an IT person. Just because they thought they didn't think to do that, that's not on her. She just emailed somebody. Even if I emailed my wife on a White House phone, if I emailed my wife who does not have a White House or a government email, that's me using it for personal use.
You're getting it exactly.
Anything.
Let's go back to your original question. You're getting it exactly backwards, and let's go back to your original question.
Okay.
She didn't get dinged because she did personal things on government resources. She got dinged because she did government work on personal resources.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So that's where she got in trouble, number one. And that's a real problem, number one. Number two,
fair enough.
The question was, are white people, are conservatives, are people in general that were interested in details? Yes, but only when the other side is doing something wrong.
So it's like, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's like we're getting ready to talk about. The president's sick, and people are going to. They don't know how they're going to cover for the guy, but I guarantee you they're going to cover for the guy.
Well, everybody's thinking there.
4 years ago, this month, Hillary Clinton had the flu, maybe pneumonia. She was falling down, and Donald Trump went out of his way to make fun of her. She's not qualified to be president. There's something wrong with this old lady. How is she be president? There's something wrong with this old man. Let's apply the hypocrisy rule. Is it consistent? If you can't get up and go to the next event for your campaign, maybe you shouldn't be president. Old man that's stuck in the hospital. So that's the thing. It's the hypocrisy. Oh, here's something that really happened, that really has legs, that Hillary did wrong, and it's during an election year, and she could get in trouble for it. Okay, I hate Hillary. Therefore, let me get my sign out. That's what that is. That's not about details. That's not about the typical white person being educated on IT things and security things. That's them listening to me be educated on security things and IT things, and then taking part of what I said and trumpeting it because it beats up on the guy that they don't like. That's American politics.
So let's pick the guy. Let's pick the guy instead. I'm sorry. Let's pick the guy instead who doesn't care about anybody, who talked about your boy Ted Cruz's wife. Let's pick the guy who talked about Ben Carson and basically called him a mentally handicapped person on stage. You know, like let's pick this dude over somebody who did have national security questions. I'll say it like that. They had national security questions.
Yeah.
But this guy, he's tweeting. Don't you think? Again, it is similar. It's still a question of security because of the things he's talking about on Twitter. He's talking about things that happen in the American public on Twitter.
Sorry. You were talking about, you're comparing her BlackBerry usage versus Donald Trump's tweeting. Mm-hmm. Oh no, let's get it. Let's not. Yes, you're absolutely right. People they apply the hypocrite rule. Hillary Clinton did whatever she did, and that was terrible. He does whatever he does, and he gets a pass. So yeah, you're right in that case. Yeah, but I mean, that's so baked in that Donald Trump should not be tweeting all the time. I don't even think about that. Pierre, we've been talking over you. I apologize.
My thing is though, like you're talking about being turned off by what you can hit Donald Trump on because of what has happened right now, and what may turn people off. Like you can't bring that up, and like I said. It feels like to me, if that's going to turn someone off, if you use a legitimate argument that he wasn't careful, he didn't take this shit seriously back in January, February. Now look, he's gone and got himself infected, and there are all these other people around him that are infected. His whole damn cabinet may be infected outside of Mike Pence. And the person that calls himself a Christian, white evangelical Christian is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that. I don't know if I can vote for Joe Biden because he brought that up. No, they were going to vote for Trump in the first place. They're looking for an umbrella to hide up under. So that way, when they come on this show and say, I voted for Donald Trump, you know, it's because I felt sympathetic and not because like, hey, I agree with his policy or I don't give a shit about what you guys care about. this is the reason why I voted for him. They have a security blanket. That's the way it sounds to me.
And
Because
on top of that,
if we're worried about tone, seriously, we're worried about tone coming from the other side. No, it's about making you feel comfortable. And I would hit his ass with it personally.
and
I think
and
it's
even on
mistake.
And even on top of that, that was what endeared the people to him in the first place, was that he
Right.
did not talk like a politician. And then he's not the same as every politician. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to do all this stuff. He did not endear to those people who were he doesn't talk all that political speak.
I'm
So I'd
telling
be
you, I'm telling you,
You
it's
gotta be
two
able
different
to
sets.
take it.
It's two
You
different
got to be
sets of
able to
rules.
take it.
It's two
I
different.
understand it's two different sets of rules, but maybe it's time the Democrats try something different.
Yeah, they
True
should
that.
do that,
True
and
that.
they will lose. Period. Next, scoreboard. Seriously,
I mean,
they have an opportunity. No, stop. They have an opportunity to get this guy out of office. I said this a month ago. I don't care about anything else. This guy, I don't even care about race. Let's put race aside. Black Lives Matter. I don't care. I mean, I do. You get my point. But right now, my only concern is to get this guy off the nuclear football. This guy is the leader of the free world, and he's batshit crazy and a demagogue. I need him out of the White House. All other things don't matter to me. I don't care if Biden was a racist and said Black lives don't matter, and I'm going to institute a national police force. I want him in there because he's the only alternative we have. And we've busted our ass for 4 years to get this guy in striking distance. Black people have compromised every value that they hold. Liberal people who are Bernie people have compromised everything that they hold as a value to get behind this moderate, old, white, leftover from the previous way of thinking 1970s approach, because they want Donald Trump gone. If we make a mistake at this late point and he wins, it's going to be a tragedy. It's going to be an utter tragedy. So we got to move carefully. And I'm telling you, when Rubio went after Trump, he scored all kinds of points and it didn't work. People walked away from him and walked to Trump. If you apply the same rules that going against Trump that he applies to you, you will look like a bully. You will look ineffective. You will look like you are irrational, and you will lose what little you have. I swear to God.
So
Biden,
in terms of Black people in that, like, about compromising all our beliefs, we've been doing that for over 100 years
I get it.
in terms of how we're voting. So this wouldn't be any different. And as far as Joe Biden could be a racist, he probably is racist in the sense, because I'll guarantee you that 44 out of the 45 presidents were probably racist. So we don't even care about the racism aspect of it in terms of that. What we're saying is that people are saying the Republican people that are turned off by Trump want the Democratic people to play to a certain playbook, and when that playbook doesn't play to them, when they get a candidate they want, then they play to a different playbook. And so it's like you can't. We got to start playing it a different way. You can't have it both ways. You want to play this way, we can play this way, and that's why a lot of people like Ice Cube and whoever, all the other Black activists are saying, like, we don't even want to vote for you unless you have something for us, because at this point we're kind of over this. We're over these old white men running for office, and then us having to follow them just to get somebody else who did badly out of office. That's the old game right there. The new game is getting somebody in office that will actually do something worth doing.
Man, I get it. I get it all day long. I'm not Black, so I'm not going to empathize. I'm not going to try to empathize. I get it. I don't like Biden. I said that earlier. He scares me. He's old. He's not sharp. I like Kamala Harris better, and I'm not a big fan of Kamala Harris. We did a whole show about that, the last episode that you watched. I get it, but dude, we are in a Rome that is made out of wood, and Nero is playing with matches. We have got to get him out of the castle, put him in the moat, put him out to sea, do whatever you have to do. Then when he's gone, then we can talk. Let the adults, man, I don't know how to put it. We got to get in the house and get the door shut. The wolves are out there. I don't know how I can come up with a million metaphors. Donald Trump is dangerous. We are super lucky that he hasn't fucked anything up. And the one thing that's held him back, in my guesstimation, is that he had to run for re-election. If he wins again and he's got nothing to lose, he's going to do whatever he wants. He'll go to war with Iran. He'll pick a fight with China. He will definitely go to war with North Korea. Nuclear bombs will be on the planes. I don't mean to underestimate this. This guy is batshit crazy and super dangerous. We have to do whatever we can and think absolutely carefully and move absolutely deliberately to remove this person from office. And then,
Right.
and then we can be grown-ups and talk about what needs
I
to
agree,
happen.
but I don't think you let this opportunity pass. Do you cut a commercial on them right now? No, you don't.
No.
But if we are going to talk about the response that his administration has had to this whole pandemic, I think that's fair game. And like you said, if that comes up during debate, I think you can talk
Mhm.
about that during the debate.
I
Right?
think
Yeah.
that once he's recovered and once we're back into the debate, I don't think it's
Well,
inappropriate to go.
this is coming up next week with Kamala Harris and Pence.
So let
You don't think it is?
so let's say
No,
for the conversation that somebody in this administration who has contracted COVID passes away, right? Not Trump, but somebody in his administration in that room
that
with them
already
passes
happened.
away. That did? See,
That
I didn't know
Herman
that. I didn't know that.
Herman Cain.
Herman
No, well,
Cain's gone.
that was okay. Okay, nobody's thinking about Herman Cain, and we all know that they're not thinking about Herman Cain. But I'm talking about, like, let's say a Kellyanne Conway. That if that white woman passes away, it's all hell is gonna break loose.
No, it's
You see
not.
it? Oh, I
No,
think it will.
why would it break loose?
Why wouldn't why wouldn't they use something like that? Somebody in his own administration passed. If Ben like black people aren't going to care if Ben Carson passes away because he done sold his soul a long time ago. But I'm telling you, this is
Well, if Ben
the
Carson
key
doesn't
to all
matter,
of this.
why would Kellyanne Conway's old, skinny, skeleton white
They
butt?
love that woman. They love the
Who's
problem.
they? Are you talking
They
about Republicans?
white outrage is the key to all
No,
of this.
no.
Yes, white outrage
Do
moves
you
this
think?
country.
Do you
White outrage
genuinely?
moves this country.
Do you
Moves the
genuinely
country.
think? No. Do you well, yes, but do you genuinely think that Donald Trump, short of Donald, do you think that Donald Trump could do anything wrong that would make that 40%, that 35% leave him?
Well, no, I
I
don't think
don't.
so.
No, I don't think so.
So if
That's
Kellyanne
stuff with
Conway
him.
died, and it was a great example of the casualness of his treatment of COVID, costing a wonderful person their lives, and oh my God, aren't you shocked? And haven't you been wrong? And now tell us what we should do now that you've learned your lesson. That's not going to happen. He's never going to mention her again, and he will move on.
He
Swear to
doesn't
God.
have to mention to her, but the Democrats can say, look, he
Okay.
didn't care enough to protect somebody in his own group of people, in his own circle. He didn't care enough. Like, let's say Melania
Sure.
dies. He
Sure.
didn't care enough to be
Sure.
be careful enough to like. I'm not saying that we should like go attack that, like push the finger on the button, like he pressed enter 400 times. I'm saying that. I'm not saying put an ad out because I feel like that's a little tasteless. But I am saying that in the sense of like, look, this is about responsibility and about a president taking responsibility, making this country look the way it's supposed to look, to be presidential in office. He has yet to do this since he's been in office. And COVID is the perfect example. And believe me when I tell you, and again, stress this, it happened on his watch.
I get that. I have a brain in my head. I'm not part of the 35%.
No,
But
no,
do
I'm
you
not talking.
think? I know,
Not
I
you,
get that.
not you.
But
But
at
my
that
You're one
point,
of
point
us.
is,
You're one of us.
At that point, they're stuck with him. We're talking about these swing voters, these undecideds, or whatever the hell you want to call them, or the people that are so sensitive, like you brought up, that are like, well, you can't hit them too hard because that might turn them off. It's like it's about making a point, like, here's why I should be president and why he should not. You don't have to be tasteless by going after that, because I don't think that's tasteless if you mention the fact that you did not care enough about the country that you went and got yourself infected and
no,
you
I
made
get that.
and here.
I get
Okay,
that, but if you've got to mention it as as a policy thing. If you
I get
say,
that. Yes.
okay, as soon as you introduce Kellyanne Conway died, how terrible that someone that isn't critical to your administration had to suffer because of your neglect, your lack of, you don't even have to say you can say you can make it kind of academic and say the administration's lack of leadership on this issue has cost some of their own people the ultimate price. You could make it the most respectful delivery of that message. As soon as you do that, it's personal. How dare you? How dare you do that? How dare you? Okay, well, you dared attack my son who's a recovered addict. I'm telling you, the hypocrisy doesn't matter. You point it out all day long, it's not going to move squat. I'm not
I
saying that
agree.
you're wrong. You point out that
No.
his policies are ineffective, but you do not point out his current situation or anything that spins out of the current situation as the ultimate example of why that happened. Because it doesn't matter. People that know that he's an idiot on COVID already know he's an idiot on COVID. 200,000 bodies should convince people not to vote for him. One more body that is Kellyanne Conway is not going to make a difference on either side of the argument. But when you make that personal argument, he can beat you with that, and it will move people away from him. It will turn people off. I'm serious as a heart attack.
The polls. I know you're serious. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, because it's like, do you think people are going to go to the polls? Okay, so Biden doesn't say anything. Glad you're well, Mr. President.
Yes.
Now I'm about to tear your ass up on, race relations, right?
Yes.
So let's not even mention COVID. Is white evangelical watching this show that's undecided walking into to the poll saying like, well, Biden didn't mention Trump's situation, so I'm going to go ahead and vote for him because he did things the right way. Do you honestly think that's happening?
No, but you're getting it. You're making a fundamental mistake. There are no white evangelicals who are not in favor of Trump. That is already baked in. You're catering to the wrong subset of society.
Okay, so who am I catering to then? Who am I catering to?
You're catering to Karens. You're catering to old white. I'm serious. You're catering to old.
No, we're not.
So
you're catering to old.
Thinking that because you were nice doing politics. I'm asking, like, because are people thinking that when they're going into the polls? I think people's minds are already made up, and some people are looking for a reason to be like, well, I still got to vote for Trump because
here's a mental equation. Okay, here's a middle class white woman who is very uncomfortable with Trump, but is also very uncomfortable with someone like Bernie, who is very afraid that that their taxes are going to be raised, that they're living check to check, that they're going to lose their jobs. And they hear that Biden is going to do this and Biden's going to do that, and they believe it for whatever reason. Okay. So they're afraid of Biden. They also dislike Trump, and they're on the bubble. Okay. So one of the main reason that they're leaning towards Biden is because Trump is gross. And then you give them some reason, whether accurate or not, to think that, wow, now Biden's kind of gross too. I guess I'll go ahead and vote for Trump. That is a real thing. No, I'm not talking about Bernie people. I'm talking about moderate white people who are put off by Trump, but are looking for an excuse to be put off by Biden. It's a real thing.
No, I agree with you. That's a real thing. But I feel those people have already decided they're going to commit to Trump anyway.
No, I'm telling you, there's a group of them that are leaning towards Biden and leaning away from Trump. And you're right in that they're looking for an excuse to switch back. Right. And you don't want to give them that excuse.
You're saying that would give them the ammo. I get
some of them.
Saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I said that in our previous pre-recording, should I say, that all Trump has to do basically is not lose, because the people that are the moderates or whatever, like Pierre said, they're basically saying, give me a reason to not vote for Trump because this is the way I'm going. I'm like 55-60% Trump and 45 whoever else. And so all he has to do is not lose this. But Biden needs to give him a reason to not vote for Trump. Obviously, Trump's leadership doesn't matter. Obviously, the way the country has treated black people doesn't matter. So like, what is it that Biden could do at this point to win those supporters? Besides say, oh, Trump hasn't been a good leader. There's been 200,000 people died. Those are the same people that he's talking to that were out there, protesting without masks to open up the country and open up the economy.
But you're reading the equation wrong. The equation for this election is very simple. Go back 4 years. I hated Hillary Clinton. Not a big surprise. I'm not a big fan of her. I think she's fake. I think she's self-serving, and I think she's corrupt. She's still better than Trump. But I took great joy from a certain perspective in watching her have a meltdown and watching her lose because of her hubris had come home to roost. So personally, it was entertaining. As much as I hated it, I wasn't going to be good with either side winning. So there was a certain amount of history passing that night. And I remember very clearly watching as states that should not have ever been Republican, historically aren't Republican, went Republican, or went Trump is probably a better way to put it. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin. These are Rust Belt states. And he won these states by 5 figures, 10,000, 30,000 people. Okay. More people of color in Atlanta didn't vote for Trump than he won in such and such a state. Okay. These are very clear statistics. And people who were Bernie people and felt put off by Hillary stayed home. People who were big fans of Barack Obama and thought that the Obama show was over stayed home. People stayed home for whatever reason and didn't think it would make a difference because Hillary was going to walk away with it, and Hillary didn't walk away with it. And they know that. And it's fundamental. It's built in. So when you go back and you do the same thing again, I don't think the people that are evangelicals, who are ultra conservative fiscally, who are anti-Mexican, anti-gay, anti-anything, anti-any progress, that are the coalition for Trump, are going to vote in the same numbers. But there aren't more of them. There are less of them. Some of them have passed away. There are a lot of people who didn't vote for the other side that will do so. We're talking about blue collar people who have not been well served by Trump, who may have been motivated to vote for him because he promised them things that he hasn't delivered on. Jobs are gone. The Rust Belt is rustier, and there's a coalition of blue collar people that are put off, people of youth, more young people than existed 4 years ago, that think that Republicans are bad and that Trump is horrible, and people of color, if I could put words in the mouths of the people that you represent, who are just shocked that this guy's been president and want anybody else to, less racist is better than the current racist. And you get those people to come out and vote, and they will. And he loses. Again, 30,000 people. Well, if 500,000 people in Detroit didn't vote for him, and they do, he doesn't win Michigan. If he loses Michigan and Pennsylvania, the election's over, right? I don't think he can win by those small margins in those states that are in the upper Midwest enough to get to 270. I think this guy is going to lose this election badly on the electoral votes once the votes are counted, if all the votes are allowed to be counted. If COVID wasn't a thing and we all voted in person, this would not even be close on election night. He would lose immediately. The only one that's up in the air in my case is Florida. He's not going to win in Ohio. He's not going to win any of the other states, and he's going to lose in a landslide if it's not COVID.
Well, Florida's COVID country, but I might say something a little controversial here. I honestly think that the reason Hillary lost was not because of the emails. I believe that Hillary lost because this country would rather have a black man in office than a woman. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that. I understand that, because if you look at
I don't believe
some
that.
of what I do, because if you listen to what Kamala Harris has faced, and this is from other black people, with her just being like the vice presidential nominee, you had black people trying to come up, well, she did prosecute all those people there, and so I don't know if I can mess with her. She married to a white man. Like, these are things we've heard.
This is coming from black people. Black people in California, they almost can't stand Kamala. They're like, so anybody but her.
I was raised right. I was raised. My dad marched in the 60s as a very young man, and I was raised in a military family. So my father's coworkers, the people that lived next door to me on the military base, were Filipino, were black, were Puerto Rican. I mean, I grew up with all those people. And so for me, it's baked in that of course women should get equal pay. And of course women are just as intelligent. My immediate boss is younger than me and a woman, and is smarter than me, more stable mentally than me and emotionally than me. And I respect the hell out of her. I have no problem with a woman being in a position of leadership. I have no problem with a person of color being in leadership. I don't judge people based on the color of skin until they make it an issue with me. So for me, I was shocked. Pierre, go back 15 years, and we used to do a website called YTMD, you're the man now dog.com, right? Little internet memes before they were a thing. And there would be comments, and there would be memes that were created that were shockingly racist. And I was genuinely shocked, because clearly racism was a thing from the 70s and before. I lived in a world in the 80s and 90s where racism didn't happen. Racism was something that people in the South did, and that were marginal and were going to die off. So that for it to come out as prevalently as it has since Obama became president, and these people suddenly had a reason to become active again on the main stage, and then to get a license to do so with Trump being president, and now they think that they have license. I am genuinely shocked. So maybe I'm naive, but I don't think that people would go into a voting booth and go, I have to vote for this asshole who's going to ruin the world and has nothing to show on his resume because at least he has a penis. I just can't get good with that. Now, maybe I'm naive, but I don't believe that's the case. I believe Hillary Clinton as an individual was utterly corrupt, was vain, didn't campaign, didn't speak to them, and Trump did. Trump is a demigod. He was very good about finding their fears and telling them why the Mexicans were responsible for it and how he was going to fix it.
All those things are correct in what you're saying. Let me make this point real quick.
Okay.
All those things are correct in what you're saying. But you know what a lot of women were mad at Hillary Clinton about? Because she stayed with Bill.
Yep.
That's not the point. That's a judgment against Hillary, not against women.
As a woman, women do that to each other. And
that's different.
And check this out. I'm going to give you something that you might not know. Out of all the police officers that have killed black men, the only two were white women.
That got prosecuted.
Or got put
in jail.
Put in jail. The only two were white women.
This
country would rather have
a black man
that I respect
would agree with the same boss that I respect that would agree with you and disagree with me. So maybe I am naive and wrong, but I don't think that that's why she lost. And I think we're way off of our point, but I disagree. I think the equation for Trump to have won was he was a demagogue and there was low turnout on the other side. Those two things motivated the right and dismotivated left, allowed him to slip in. He lost the popular vote and he won 6 states, give or take, by 5 figures or less. Okay. Less than 1%. Those people, if even in portion, come out and vote where they didn't before, he should lose. And all we have to do is not fuck that up. The polls reflect that. Okay. So all we have to do is keep doing what Biden has been doing, which is rope-a-dope. All he has to do is do nothing and he wins. And we get rid of Trump and then we can let Kamala Harris and a competent cabinet put Uncle Joe to bed and try to build something out of this country, including some sort of consensus of common sense people in the middle who aren't trying to burn the country down, because I hate black people. I hate gay people. I hate capitalism. All of that shit show stuff is what's ruining this country. And Donald Trump is a product of it. We've got to get him off the button. And then we have to get some real leadership out of Washington. That's what Biden can do well. That's what Obama can do well, speaking through Biden and his cabinet. That's what his people can do well. That's what we got to get to. Then we could talk about Black Lives Matter and police reform and a consistent, coherent tax policy and foreign policy and rebuilding the military in light of a China that is surging through the Pacific and a Russia that wants to fuck with us. These are real problems. Holy shit, the world could end in 30 years because of global warming. We can't talk about that right now because this guy's a president. We got to get rid of him.
So speaking of which, one of the things we've touched on race a little bit. And one of the more pivotal things that came up during the debate was Trump being asked, do you denounce white supremacy? Like, do you disavow it? He was asked that directly. He was asked point blank. And his answer was, stand by and stand down, or stand down and stand by, Proud Boys, or sure, I disavow it. Who do you want me to disavow? That's what he did. And one of the things that we talked about before we're officially putting on record now, since the record button got hit for real this time.
Pre-show. It's the pre-show.
It's the pre-show. It's recording. I can see it right there in the corner.
I can see it right there. So the one thing we talked about was Trump had a golden opportunity. He had the perfect segue right there when he was asked, do you disavow white supremacists? All he had to do, he just talked about the damn platinum plan. What was that, Friday? That he put that shit out? All he had to do was like, you goddamn right, I disavow it. KKK's on like this list right
here. Terrorist list. They're terrorists.
What I'm gonna do for black people? Terrorist group. About to fuck them up. FBI, go do your thing. No, that ain't what he did.
That's all he had to do. I might have voted for Trump if he would have did that. I ain't gonna front. He right. He did more for black. Man, this joke is leaking. So
Like this, what he did. Like Joe Biden is standing right there, about 20 feet away from him, and all he had to say was, "Here's my platinum plan." Of course, I disavow the KKK and all them other guys because they're on this. This fool was putting y'all in jail. Crime bill, 1994. Ask him, does he disavow white supremacists? That's what Trump could have did. He ain't do that. He
he
started
truly
talking
could have
about,
did.
but Antifa, but Antifa. It's like we ain't talking about Antifa. That wasn't a question, bruh.
Yeah.
But again, what's the calculation? Okay, step back because these guys know this, right? Donald Trump has, let's say, 35% of the vote locked in. They're going to vote for him. They're going to show up. He's got to figure out how to get to 51%, or at least something close to 51%, enough to win the electoral college, right? So he's got to find votes. He's losing in the polls. My formula is not something I made up. I think that the conventional thinking is he's losing. He's going to lose. He's got to find more votes. Part of finding more votes and building more of a coalition is not pissing off his own coalition. He cannot afford to disavow the Ku Klux Klan, the Proud Boys, Upper Midwest militias, any of those people, the NRA, because if he does, now that will piss them off and they will stay home. That's the thing that could hurt him that we talked about. Kellyanne Conway could die 6 times on stage. She could come out and say Donald Trump raped me and then blow herself up and no one's going to care. But if he comes out and goes, no, I think that we should lock down AR-15s. There's been one too many mass shootings. He loses. If he comes out and says, yeah, no, the Proud Boys are bad. The Proud Boys are led by a guy who's black. Okay. So they have their excuse, right? If he comes out and says, no, I think they're racist, they're going to go, fuck you. We're not racist. How dare you say that? And he will piss enough of them off that they will start looking for Trump sequel and they will walk away from him. And again, he can't afford to lose anybody. He's got to find new somebodies. He can't lose any of the old already buddies. So he's not going to disavow white supremacists. He's not going to do anything like that unless he can very carefully do it. It's very simple for him to say, he doesn't have to talk about the platinum plan. He could have, it's so simple. Biden has racist statements in his past. All he has to do is go, like you said, Joe, you've been doing this for 50 years. What have you done for black people? Black unemployment is at a low point under my economy, right up to COVID. You can't blame me for the COVID economy. You told me you wanted me to shut it down. I shut it down a little bit, and now you want to blame me for what that did to the economy. You're a hypocrite, but I have a plan that's going to let black people out of prison that you put there. So what are you going to do for black people? Yes, he could have said that, but again, that requires intelligence and a game plan. Neither of these guys have that in debates. And he can't afford to do that because he's going to piss off white people who are racist. And he needs their votes.
This is the problem with the whole First Step Act. That's not just for black people. Because last time I checked, those nonviolent crimes were multiple races. So it's about, that's not a black plan. And
I get it.
And for him to tout that, Joe Biden could have been like, look, check this out. Yeah, the crime bill, that happened. But then again, that was signed off on by some black people too.
Yes.
So it wasn't. So it's like we almost can't even blame him for the crime bill that put a herd amount of people in jail. But then he's getting credit for things that he isn't really doing. Like he's not really letting a bunch of black people out of jail. And even when in him mentioning the platinum plan, why would have been helpful is because he has this 5% of black conservatives out there that are pushing for him, that have been waiting for this. Trust me, I've seen it on Twitter. All these people waiting for this, and say he pushed that plan. He could have won more than just that 5% over, and that would have pushed him over his base. Because like in Alabama, the black women that voted in Alabama, they changed that election because Alabama ain't voting nobody black up in there. You know what I'm saying?
Black people get folks elected. And I don't understand why people cannot seem to understand that. Black people get you put in office. If you do something to keep us stay home, you are not going to win. Period.
Right, and that's why Bill Clinton himself went on Arsenio playing a saxophone, because he need these black people to get him in office. Trump might not need as many black people, but he needs some black people. and the and like, you know, yeah, you could cut out some of your base, but you could also bring some white folks in that was moderate. That's like, you know what? I do think those people could be fair. You might even vote for Trump at this point if he looked like he showed some semblance of fairness, but he doesn't. And him not disavowing that, like you said earlier, like you said in the pre-show, ask you the question: do you disavow the KKK? 100% yes. And
Yeah.
by the way, Biden was the one putting people in jail. If he'd have said it just like you said it, then we were like, you know what? He did do that.
That's a good point.
And now let me mention this platinum plan that has the KKK on the terrorist list. That is all about black people. I didn't say person of color. I said black people. Ice Cube and all his followers are looking for that. You know what I'm saying? Diddy and all his followers are looking for those words. Charlemagne the God and the Breakfast Club and all of their following are looking for the words black people, not people of
We
color.
had Mike Shaw on this show, and that is exactly what he spoke towards. Like, our vote is just, you can't just guarantee our vote because you're with the Democratic Party. That is what he was speaking to the core. And Trump could have tapped into that because it
Yep.
was sitting right there for him.
He
And
could have
that
got him.
clown was like, Antifa, better make sure we talk about that. So
Yeah, and you know, he didn't say that, and it's not that he would have gotten all the black vote, right? Because most of us don't trust Trump, right? Let's just
right.
keep it real. Like, but he would have gotten some black people to kind of side eye that thing, like, wait a minute, let me see what else Trump talking about real quick.
Oh.
Don't mean he would have got all. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
He might have pulled some, and you never know.
Yep.
Is that some enough that he needs to push him over the hump? But he
I'm
didn't
telling
do that.
you, that if he starts talking to, look, this is a racist country. Okay. St. Louis, Jason, you don't have the opportunity to be from St. Louis, but Pierre is, and I still am.
Right.
St. Louis is divided. There's a very clear line. It's called, it runs east and west. North County, North City is
Right.
80% black, and South County, West County is 80%, 90%, 100% in some cases white. This is a racist country in parts. I think most people aren't racist, but there's enough racists on both sides that race-based philosophy. You're talking about black people voting the black agenda or not voting because of the black agenda. You're not talking about black people coming and voting for Trump. You're talking about them staying home and not voting for Biden because maybe Trump is not that bad. Right now, they're going to vote in their own self-defense for Biden, and maybe that would change if he would speak to them or speak for them or give them any reason to make a second guess. I get that. But when that happens, there's another part of the equation that you guys are not considering, and that is the racists that are white on the right side, the Proud Boys themselves, who are going to feel like they're sold out and will go out of their way to punish him. Black people, look, you said it yourselves, black people have an entire history of doing what the white man needs and doing the right thing for themselves and taking their lumps because it's the path of it's the only path. It's not the path of least resistance. It's the only path you have. White people don't have that benefit of history. White people have the benefit of doing whatever the fuck they want. And white people will jump to punish you and not vote for you in a minute. So if you start, I guarantee you, if Trump suddenly discovered his black self and started speaking to the black people and went to a black church and did all of the things that white people do when they want to pretend that they're black and cater to black people, there are white people who he went and brought into the fold that didn't vote for that will go home, that will not be part of him. The Ku Klux Klan is a real thing. Shit kickers are a real thing, and those people will not vote for Trump. And they will make a point of pointing out that they didn't vote for Trump. They will demonstrate that on election day, and he would lose. He doesn't want to lose. He's not going to turn his back on his coalition, and that means he's not going to speak to black people. He's not going to speak to Mexican people because the people that did vote for him, which he jealously is guarding, it's his only lifeline. He's trying to figure out how to build on that. He's not going to jeopardize that. If he was intelligent, he would. Your points are very valid. A rational person, an intellectual, would see that the Republican Party is shrinking and needs to bring in different new people, probably of color, into the tent. They have to move to the middle or they're not going to be in existence 20 years from now. But he's bought himself some time by going outside of the tent to the right and finding people that don't vote. Evangelicals generally don't vote. If he starts turning his back on evangelicals by saying, people who are pro-choice have a point, he's going to lose that base, and he will still lose the election. If he's lucky, he'll get similar numbers. That's not how he's going to win. And he's not smart enough to get your point anyway. And the people around him are not smart enough, because they genuinely are racist in enough cases that they don't want to do what you're saying. It's not going to happen, right. And it's not a good strategy for him, and he knows it.
And that's why I say controversially that I don't know that Trump is a racist, but more of an opportunist, and he will be whoever you need him to be. He's a mercenary, and he works for somebody, and he's doing the bidding of somebody else. You need me to do this? I got you. I'm gonna do this. You need me to go take this joker out? I'm gonna take him out. I got you. I'm gonna take him out. You need me to say this? I'm gonna say this. So Trump, do you disavow the KKK? Oh, wait a minute. Who you want me to disavow? Like what? There's a lot of people. I've said a lot of things. And so he's diverting the point. He's stalling because I can't lose these particular people. But what we're definitely saying is that, like, and this is why his camp is silly, because they had the opportunity to pull in people. Like, even if he lost those people, to pull in people who would put him back in, who would put him back on top. They'd be like, Biden, where's your black plan? You said people of color. You got that Indian woman who says she black, but she married to a white dude, so she ain't that black. And she put people in jail. So did you, Biden. Black people
I think we agree that an intelligent person would move to the middle. I've been saying that for 20 plus years, but he's not an intelligent person. And the cake is baked at this point. He's not going to do that. He can't make that move that quickly. And that's a fair point. He cannot pick enough of black people up in the next 3.5 weeks to offset the white people he would lose. And that's a fact. And so maybe we speak to, go back to when was Mitt Romney running against Biden? This is 8 years ago. Okay. He stood up on a stage with a bunch of Republican candidates, and somebody pointed out that gays in the military was still being discussed. And, there was a colonel that came out, and what did we think of him? And they hemmed and they hawed for the most part. They were, well, I can't really piss off the anti-gay group, the people that are opposed to gays in the military. So they had to give a political answer. What you're talking about is avoiding political answers and giving sharp, specific, simple answers that really speak to some population in a way that is going to be a game changer. And Mitt Romney could have stood up on that stage and go, it's just like I said before. What do you think of the guy who came out and is a colonel and a war veteran and now is coming out as gay? What do you think of that? Well, we should analyze. That's what his answer was. His answer should have been, I think he's a war hero, and I think that he clearly shows that gays can and should be in the military. They have been, and trying to deny them after the fact is stupid. We should celebrate the guy. What's your next question? He wins the election if he does that. If he's smart enough to make that headline happen. Mitt Romney comes out as being pro-gay in the military, and suddenly he's a Republican with a heart. Boom, he wins. He's got the moderate vote and the conservative vote. He wins the election. That's done. He definitely wins the nomination, which he won anyway, but he could have won the election right there. Mitt Romney can come out, Trump, any Republican can come out and say, Mexicans are not the problem. Gay people are good people. Women deserve equal pay. Police do need to be reformed. Any of those things would be shocking from someone on the right, and would do huge damage inroads wise to the coalition of very disconnected people that make up the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is an amazing coalition of disconnected groups. You've got black conservatives who hate gay people in a coalition with gay people, and people who are moderate blue dog Democrats who believe in a free market, allied with people that want to tear it all down and give away free everything and don't understand economics. And they all are going to vote Democratic. All you have to do is pick off one or two of those, and you're in business. And they're not smart enough to do that. I agree with you. You make your point. Absolutely. It's the same point we all been making, those of us who are come from that conservative background and have a brain, but the people in power don't have that that vision.
Yeah,
Mark
politics
Cuban
aren't built
is
that way
somebody I
anymore.
keep pointing out could be a future leader because he has that viewpoint and he has the wealth and the charisma to put it over.
I think that what Republicans probably don't get is that, like, I just like you and Pierre. I don't know if was your
Yes,
father in the
yes, he
military
was. My father
too, or
was
your
in the
mother?
Navy. Mhm.
Okay, so my father was in the Navy and my brother was in the Army. My father was a chief, petty officer, first class, and my brother was a captain, and my sister was also in the military as well. And so I come from the state of Virginia originally, in the Hampton Roads area where Norfolk Naval Base is and everything like that, right? So I think what conservatives don't understand is that black people as a whole, and I'm going to speak for black people as a whole, are generally conservative.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are they are their upbringing is conservative, and they have conservative values growing up throughout their lives.
Yes.
Even when they go out and do whatever they want to do and do radical stuff, they ultimately come back to their conservative values.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that the Republican Party chooses to ignore that very fact. That's why I'm saying that I believe that Trump could win if he did this certain thing. If he, like, even if he lost those people, if he catered to the conservative portion of black people, he could absolutely win the black vote. That thing, because that pendulum could swing from 95%
Like
to
that.
80 to at least 70%, and that would push him over.
I get it. I agree. I said 4 years ago when he was at the convention, when he was being accused of being a racist and being anti-Muslim and all of these things, the smart answer would have been to have stood up on the national stage and disavow every single one of those points. Hey, they say I'm a racist. I'm not a racist. There will be black people in my cabinet. I don't know what black people go through. I won't speak for black people. And I'm probably going to fail. But you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to make things better by talking to them, asking them what they need. And if you are not, this is where he wins. If you are not on board with black people being Republicans, then you don't need to be my party. Black people, I don't know if you'll join me, but I'd like you to consider doing so. I want to try to be your president as well. And I don't have any place for racists. Period. He says that at his convention speech, and he's taken the high ground and he's defanged the arguments. Then the arguments become petty. He's not smart enough to have done that. And this cake is baked. It's too late. What
Well,
you're
he did.
talking about, what you're doing is you're offering advice to the next president. You're offering advice to the guy that's going to go, why did Trump lose? He was a sitting president and he lost. Why do these black people hate him? Why do all the old white people that died and we don't have any bodies to replace them, and the people that should be for us, black Baptists, who are anti-abortion, Mexicans who generally are Roman Catholic and aren't abortion. Why are they not part of our party? Why are they not a bigger part of our party? Why are we losing Cuban Americans who have for generations been pro-conservative? Why? What do we need to do to speak to them? Why are we catering to the racists when that's going away? Should be going away. It's philosophically gross. Why are we not catering to them? Why are we not reaching out to them? Why are we not bringing those candidates in? They try, but there's too many old white people who, old white men. It's old white men. The problem with the country is old white men, and I'm getting there. See the white in the beard? Old white. It's white. I get it, but
I think it might be white women too. Seriously, I think that it might be those white women who are the traditionalists and who think of the country as a certain way. And, like, you're right, even though, like, a man should lead this country first and foremost, and then he has these white values, and because of those white values they consider him to be Christian and evangelical, and like almost by default.
Even though
And
he's
so,
not.
like, even though he's not, like, standing up there in front of a church holding the Bible upside down, like, I felt like that Bible was going to get struck by lightning at that moment. But it's but
the fact that Christians follow him baffles me.
it's crazy.
I don't understand it.
I asked a black conservative on Twitter one time. I said, "Do you believe Trump is a Christian?" Flat out, I said, "Serious question," because I don't like to joke about stuff like that. Serious question. Do you think Trump is a Christian?
And he said no.
No, she said, she quoted the scripture. You can tell it. You can tell by the fruit that they bear. That Jesus said that in the Bible. You can tell by the fruit that they bear. If they're such and such bears of ripe fruit, whatever. And I was kind of like, first and foremost, that didn't really answer the question, because I can pick out some of that fruit off that tree
Yeah.
that would say otherwise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yet she still is a supporter of him. And it almost baffles my mind as a Christian. I don't want to say I'm a Democrat per se. I want to say that I'm a Christian, right? Because I feel like that supersedes whatever everything for me. And that's just me speaking for me personally. But I cannot, in good conscience, support Trump. And that's not even speaking as a black person. That's speaking as a person, as a human being. I cannot, in good conscience, support him. And that's part of why I don't understand the whole evangelical movement and that sort of thing. Like, in good conscience, if I think about what Jesus did, biblically and things like that, and what Gandhi stood for goodness sake, I cannot, in good conscience, vote for Trump.
Evangelicals vote for Trump, and I said just a minute ago, I don't understand it. But
You definitely said it.
Evangelicals vote for Trump because, like all people, when it comes to politics, it's not about their belief. Nobody is voting for Trump because they think that Trump is like them, for the most part. My mother didn't vote for Trump because he said grab him in the pussy, and she, being a woman and having a granddaughter, thought that was a great thing. She's voting for him because she thought Barack Obama was black and a Muslim, so she's voting against Barack Obama. And she, as a sorry.
I said that's what we're doing. We're voting against Trump.
It is, but also because one of her primary motivations is she's very Catholic, and she thinks abortion is horrible, and she thinks it should be illegal because it's murder. Okay, it's a philosophy I can understand. I don't agree with it, but it's at least something that you can wrap your brain around. So she's voting for Trump because he's more likely to advance the anti-abortion agenda. That's why evangelicals vote for him. It's because he is allied with what they want to see be done. So if he is a devil in person, but he's doing God's work, even indirectly and unintentionally, they are going to vote for him. And that's what they see. There's a lot of people in his coalition that are like that. That he's going to stop the socialism. He's going to stop the gays in the military. He's going to stop the Mexicans from coming across the border. He said as much. He didn't say that because he believes it. He said that because it works. It sells to a certain group. He's saying what they want to hear. He's possibly going to do what they want him to do. Look, the fact is, scoreboard, that we're likely, what'd you say, 6-3, 5-1-3, going to have a more conservative Supreme Court. Roe v. Wade is in danger. It wasn't in danger 4 years ago. If you are anti-abortion, you picked the right guy, and you're getting some benefit from it. I don't think it'd be struck down, but you're a lot closer than you were before, and it was a good play. If that's your primary motivation, then you're gaining something that you've been looking for 50 years. Roe v. Wade is in danger. Okay, so this has been for a long time a discussion of the debate and things that come out of the debate and things that come out of our discussion of the things that come out of the debate. We are way off our track, but we still have to talk about the news of the day. We haven't talked on this, and we've been here an hour and 45 minutes. Coming out of the debate, President Trump said, look at Joe Biden. This guy's always wearing a mask. Masks are fine. I have a mask. I'd put it on if I felt I needed it, but I don't put on a mask. This guy's wearing a mask all the time. Let me clown him because he's wearing a mask all the time. We have big turnouts, lots of people outside. And he has nobody. He's constantly too safe. His crowds are too small. Biden has immediate ways to counter that. He wasn't sharp enough, quick enough to do so. Fine. That's the debate. But the result of this last week, in one way or another, is President of the United States is in the hospital with COVID-19, with Corona. Right. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a real thing, and that's real news, and that's real raw. We're recording on Friday, October 3rd. It's now, October 2nd. It's October 3rd for me because it's just now past midnight. But, he's in Walter Reed Medical Hospital, And the news is real raw. So let's talk through what happened this week and today. And Pierre, you want to do that? You want me to do that?
I'll go ahead and do it. So Trump said what he had to say at the debate, and then so he was at a lot of different fundraisers and events on the East Coast. A lot of people breathing each other's mouth, kissing, spitting, whatever the hell they were doing to each other, because Hope Hicks comes up with that's one of his close advisors. She comes up with coronavirus. She tests positive. And this all happens very quickly yesterday. The debate was on Tuesday. So earlier in the day yesterday, it's like Hope Hicks has tested positive for the coronavirus. Next thing you know, Trump said he puts a tweet. Me and the first lady, we're gonna begin quarantine because we're around her. We're gonna get tested. Blah blah blah. We're gonna get through this. About an hour later, I'm not sure the time frame, but relatively quickly, it's like I got the Rona, dog. So both of us got the Rona. So we gonna sit up here. We gonna wait this out. Blah blah blah, and we'll be okay. We'll be stronger for it or whatever. We'll get through it together. Fast forward to today. Now he's in the hospital. I'm sure he's there for monitoring, but it was being reported at first like, oh, he's just got the mild symptoms of the COVID and everything. He's going to be just fine. He was just tired and, he had a hoarse voice is what they said yesterday. He was even on Fox News yesterday talking to Hannity, I believe, kind of downplaying the whole thing with Hope Hicks and what was going on with her. Well, come to find out, he got more than a hoarse voice and that he's tired. He started to get the fevers and all that stuff with it. Now he's in Walter Reed. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get some of the best health care that he don't want the American people to have. So he's going to get that in order to stay alive. It's much like how it was with Boris Johnson and how this played out. But the result of Boris Johnson was when he got out the hospital, he was like, hey, this shit is real. We're going to have to do a little bit better. I don't know if Trump's going to do that, but he better start drinking hydroxychloride or whatever he said that you need to do, or inject some bleach or whatever.
So let's rewind
I hope he gets better. Get better, Mr. President.
Yeah, yes, I hope that ultimately you get better. Let's rewind about a week because the current this Amy Jo Johnson or whatever her name is, Supreme Court nominee, is making the rounds, and she's meeting senators. Senators are having hearings. They're having Rose Garden events to introduce her. They're flying off to have the debate. They're flying back. They're in the debate with their masks off. They're clowning Biden for wearing a mask. And so the list of people who currently, and all these GOP people in each other's pockets, the list of people that currently have tested positive in the last, let's say, 72 hours. Senator Tom Tillis, Senator Mike Lee, Kellyanne Conway, his advisor, the president of the University of Notre Dame, Reverend John Jenkins, First Lady Melania Trump. Several reporters at the White House have tested positive. There are any number of people who are waiting results of tests. Okay. This is spreading quickly. This is a real problem. To their credit and to our benefit, whether you like them or not, Vice President Pence and his wife have not tested positive. Vice President Joe Biden and his wife have not tested positive. So there is a continuity of control. The people that are panicking because, the government's going to shut down, it's not going to happen. Pence will be able to nuke Iran just as well as Trump can, if it comes down to that. But the fact is, now what else happens? Yes, he went to Walter Reed Medical Hospital, but there are doctors on staff at the White House. They have a whole medical bay there. They have a little mini hospital. They didn't take him to Walter Reed Medical Hospital to run tests, and they didn't take him because he had a sore throat. When he got there, and there's a press release, I don't have it in front of me, but his doctor released, this is public knowledge, this is from the White House, that he was given a antibody cocktail that is very early trials. Okay, he got a compassionate waiver because it's not approved by the FDA. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means he either ordered them to give him this because it's the latest hydroxycoat and whatever, this is what's going to cure him this week, like bleach or whatever it was, or he's much further along than what they're going to tell us. And I'm sure it's the former, not the latter. It's very unlikely, given his advanced age and the fact that he looks like me and he eats too many Big Macs and he's probably got a dozen comorbidities. The fact is that this thing is not very lethal anymore. and he's probably going to be some version of fine. But it's alarming and unprecedented how he has gone from last night, his advisor had it, this morning he had it, and now he's in the hospital and will be there for a few days. They put the president of the United States during an election in the hospital, and he's not coming home. That's alarming. That's real talk.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing about it. So this is causing another spike because they were all around all these other folks. And so, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people, like you said, that are awaiting results. He's clowning Biden, but Biden wearing his mask, he's wished the president well and, the first lady well and all that stuff. But yeah, it's pretty alarming. The number of people that have tested positive just like that. And if I was Sean Hannity, I'd probably go get tested too.
I agree.
Yeah, it was weird. What, like it's like they had this big old party after the debate or something like that. I mean, you said they went to like a fundraiser, right? And it's like they created their own mini outbreak of the virus. Exactly. It seems like, and and that's kind of crazy. I just like I don't wish this upon anybody, because I have a relative that had it, and so like they aren't better off for it,
No.
So like, and this is just a crazy situation, especially, like you don't want to bring up the significance of the election when it comes to somebody getting sick, but this is very, very significant, and it's almost like, well, what do we do? Like it's almost like this in itself could cause a state of panic among the country.
Mm-hmm. Markets went down. People don't know what's going to happen. People smell blood in the water. People are going to not be sensitive. The good news is we're also desensitized to this and also politically turned up to 11, that I don't know that it's going to change anything. I don't know what somebody could do that would be more alarming, but they keep proving me wrong about every other day. So man, you're right. It's unprecedented, and we're going down a river and we can hear a waterfall. We don't know how, God knows. It's a future show, but it's not a big shocking concept to think that there's going to be a huge turnout in favor of Trump on election day. It's October 3rd. The election is November 4th. We're a month away, and they're going to come out and they're going to vote for him. There's going to be mail-in ballots that are going to have to be counted, and they're going to argue about every single one of them. They're going to contest in every single state Supreme Court any election result that is at all close. They're going to argue. They are going to delay. We will not know who have won probably until Christmas, and then then it starts. I refuse to accept the election. That's before the guy was in the hospital. Now there is no debate coming, possibly, because
I doubt we're going to get more debates.
Well, if he's sick for a week and the debate is a week from Tuesday, is he going to be able to be on stage? What's going to happen? Does he come out as a hero to his people? Does he look like an asshole? Does he change his tone? Does he make the big change that I'm saying he can't make and come out and go, this is real, ladies and gentlemen, and I apologize, and this is what we're going to do. And I just called President Biden or Vice President Biden, and we're going to go forward. Does he somehow do a mea culpa and look like a saint because he had COVID and recovered from it? Well, but
yeah, I don't think that's in his makeup.
But have you been on death's door before? Has he? What do you do when you come out the other side of that? If he does, what if he doesn't? What if he's so sick he can't get back out of bed for 3 or 4 weeks, and Pence is running the country? Then do they try to postpone the election? He argued for that a month ago. Maybe we should postpone the election. Does Pence actually try to do that? Does the Supreme Court have to tell Pence that he has to leave the White House, or Trump lost the election? This is a wrinkle, and I get genuinely scared about this election. I sleep well every night because I know that it's not election time, because I know that I need sleep now. I need to relax now. I need to stay calm now, because the election is going to be scary. This makes it scarier. This is an order of magnitude worse than we were 48 hours ago. Right. The best case scenario for everybody is that he does get the sniffles and he comes home tomorrow and he's fine by Tuesday.
Here's the other thing that was lightly reported. I kind of skimmed over it, so I haven't read the whole story. I believe his Supreme Court nominee tested positive for COVID this past summer as well. So,
She did test positive earlier.
mhm.
They are saying that um I'm sorry, I'm looking at some things right now. They're saying that she had it earlier. She's not relative to this because she has had it and gotten over it. So she's not the source. She's not spreading it.
Mhm.
But it does speak to the fact. Look, this is real. It's really out there.
Correct.
You know, and we do take it too seriously. Look, I don't know somebody. I know they're acquaintance of an acquaintance, but and they were very old, so they had comorbidities. They had the comorbidity, but I know someone who's died of this, and I know someone who is related to that person that was younger, still older, still had comorbidities that came very close to getting very, very sick. This is I can speak to real people who have had this. This is a real thing. Pierre said it earlier in the year. This thing is catching bodies. This guy is dealing with the chickens who've come home to roost. And that's not anything, whether they make a commercial out of it or not, that he's ever going to be able to lay down. He should have looked at Boris Yeltsin,
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson, and had learned his lesson. Oh, that could be me. But he's not that kind of person. He's bulletproof. He's Donald Trump. He's never wrong. He's never going to get sick. Now he's sick.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it boils down to, is that he thinks he's bulletproof and that he feels like he has the best medical staff, the best protection of anybody in the whole world, and so that just kind of helped him along the line. And then he has a bunch of yes men next to him that helped him along the lines of saying, hey, you got this. Even if you get it, you're gonna beat it. And most likely you won't get it because look at what's around you. Look at who's around you. The Joint Chiefs of Staff will get it before you get it. It's like it's just he just will not. He will not. He's the king that will never come off of that perch in his mind.
So the new update that's come out from the White House is that this afternoon, in consultation with specialists from Walter Reed and Johns Hopkins University, I recommended we move the president to Walter Reed National Medical Center for further monitoring. This evening, I'm happy to report the president is doing well, yada, yada, yada. He is not requiring any supplemental oxygen, but in consultation with specialists, we have elected to initiate remdesivir therapy. He has completed his first dose and is resting comfortably. This is getting more and more serious. They are giving him therapeutics.
True.
Oh yeah. And is this the shit that they're supposed to put on to the public later, or is
This
this
is the
still
stuff that's coming out now.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
So either they've suddenly found transparency 4 years into their presidency. They were going to drain the swamp. They have made the swampiest swamp I've ever swamped. But maybe they're suddenly coming up with transparency. Maybe they know that they need to do so for national security reasons. Or maybe it's worse than they're saying, and they're saying what minimally they have to.
I'm talking about this drug they gave him though.
The remdesivir is the approved therapeutic that helps. It's the one drug that's shown to um, help people who are particularly sick. I'm not an expert, and I could do a real quick search, but I think it's for people who are fairly far along. I don't think that they give it to people who are in early stages. I think it's to help people come back from later stages. That doesn't speak well to the situation if they're doing that. The other drug that they're giving him, the one that they announced earlier, is not this. That is a early trial that was I don't even know what it's supposed to treat. It's antibody based. It's two antibodies in a cocktail, and I think it's supposed to boost your immune system to keep it from getting worse. And it's for early on. But it's also in early trials. There's only like a handful, 100 people that have taken this thing because it's only in stage 1 trials, not stage 3. The vaccines that they all think are going to arrive November, December, February, March, these are all in advanced stage 3 trials because they've been demonstrated at 2 different levels to not have any severe side effects and to have created some sort of positive. That's not this. This thing is, it might be doing some good. Let's try it out and see if it kills anybody. And let's go ahead and shoot it into the president while we're doing that. Because I don't know what the reason is, because he insisted on it, because he's really, really sick, because it's better than they think or that they've demonstrated. I don't know. But they're shooting this guy with things that are, if I get it, they're going to send me home and check my oxygen levels, and then they're going to bring me in if I get really, really sick. Otherwise, they want me to just ride through it. For most people, it's a bad cold.
Right.
They are giving this stuff to this guy because he's the president, and they need to do everything they can because he's insisting on it, because he's really bad. It's got to be some version of one of those three things, and none of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he's 70 something years old. 74, you said, right?
Right.
I'm 74 years old. I mean, at this point, this is the end game for him. He's got to do something, basically.
Yes.
Right.
And from the way you're describing this medicine, he's probably 3 or 4 days already into it. Like into what he was dealing with, like probably right after leaving the debates or what have you, or something that was going on with him. Which is lucky that Joe Biden and his wife did not catch it. So like it just like, especially since he's probably asking for this medicine so that he can recover as quickly as he can, and it probably like, because a lot of people are saying that it might be, some people think it's a hoax for some reason. I mean, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to put that on anybody, say like, yeah, he's just lying about it just to say it ain't. I got through it. It ain't a cold.
I said to Pierre that I thought Joe Biden would fake it. I said that to him. I said that he would fake it because he could lay out of the debates, and then he could come back as the wounded warrior who recovered and be a hero and beat Donald Trump over. I got this because you didn't take care of us as president. I will do better as president. That was the play I thought he would come up with. So the counter argument that that's what Trump is doing makes sense. I think that's all. I think that they said that before he got on the helicopter and flew over to Maryland. So I think that I think it's real now, and maybe it wasn't real 6 hours ago, but it's for real now. And I mean, this dude is in the hospital. Look,
he hurt.
This is a rich white guy. He wants to sleep in his own bed. He ain't sleeping in the hospital for political reasons.
That joke
He
is
hurting right now.
He is a roach. He can survive a nuclear holocaust. That boy is gonna survive this thing. He gonna come out of this thing with flying worse than ever.
2 thumbs up.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
This dude is typical. This is the guy. He's like me. Look. Fat ass. I'm 100 pounds overweight. Okay. And I'm going to be like this in spite of my good intentions and constantly dying and trying to get on the elliptical and doing a good job for 2 weeks and then forgetting to do it for six months. I'm going to be like this. I hate to say this, and I'm going to try again tomorrow, but people like me and like him are really good about being super healthy, and I can walk fine and I feel fine right up to the point you have your heart attack. This guy has been really lucky up to this point, and he's going to be really lucky right up to the point his luck runs out, and then it's going to hit like a shit ton of bricks falling on his head. And this could be that. He could not wake up tomorrow. Roach surviving the nuclear holocaust is not a thing. This guy, these people are all super healthy right up till suddenly they're not. Think about your life, people that you know who are older than you who have been that. They were so healthy, and then this happened, and then they faded quickly. This is for real. This guy's got the disease. 200,000 people have died in the United States. What makes him so special that he could not be one of them? God forbid. And I hate the guy. I hope he has a nice, long, painful corona and it changes his philosophy and we all are better for it and he recovers 100%. I seriously do. But I'm afraid that it goes a little worse than that. I mean, obviously all of us don't want that to happen and we've talked it to death, but oh man, it's scary.
Oh yeah, because you don't know what it means for a whole lot of different things. So it's scary. So yeah, I wanted to kick his ass for a little bit. Yes. Kick his ass for a little bit, and then come on back, and get voted out of office is pretty much what I want to happen. Don't want him to drop dead. We don't want that. That's not what we want. Nobody in the show wants that.
Right.
But
don't come knock on my door because I don't want him. I didn't ever said that.
I want this to be a lesson to him, though, that this shit was serious from the beginning, and you didn't help protect this country. You didn't protect the people of this country. You didn't protect your own staff. So, this is a lesson to be learned.
You put us in danger, and you amplified the problem for your own political reasons or because you were too. The best case scenario is he was too selfish and stupid to see the handwriting.
Yeah, I definitely thought from the first Moment I found out, I was like, man, we ain't never getting out of quarantine. As soon as he got out, I was like, my kids are never going to school. This is crazy.
Oh man,
That
well,
was
I'm
me
I
glad
being
they
dumb.
got it.
Well, we've
My,
been doing this for 6 months. It's March
mhm.
started. I came home March 17th, I think.
Me too.
I've been, I mean, we're back in the office. The economy's recovering. It's not as bad economically as what they said, but there's 4 million jobs that are gone and they're never going to come back. That was going to happen, but it happened quicker because
Mhm.
the economy had to adjust. It isn't good and it's going to be bad for a while. And they're saying 6 more months of this, probably give or take, before there's any kind of number of vaccines. I think that vaccines will be coming. I think that they'll be available. And look, when I get my vaccine, if it's got any effectiveness, I'm going to go back out into the world. My daughter will go back to school if there's a school to go to, and I will go sit in restaurants if they're open, and I'll go see movies. But that doesn't mean that this thing is going to be over. It's rough. We live in a different world than we did a year ago, and it's going to take
Mhm.
3 or 4 years before we get over it. That's the good news. Man, I'm depressed.
The bad news is we're coming to the end of our show. You've been a good guest, Jason.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate y'all having me. I hope I wasn't taking up too much of this, talking too
No,
loud.
no, 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 no,
It
No,
not
was,
at all.
you
This
were
is
way better than Mike.
I don't know. But thank you for
no,
definitely thank you for having me. This has been awesome. Again, I listened to that podcast and I was like, man, this is so awesome to see them have this podcast going on. I don't know anybody with a podcast, and now I do, and I think it's awesome.
That's
anytime you
Pierre.
want to be on the show, you let us know.
Man, I'm
Yes,
completely
sir.
down. Just let me know the subject matter. If
Ask
you
me
want
what
to,
this is.
what is
What
that?
is that?
This is Protect and Serve. I'm reading it this weekend.
Oh,
The only reason I care about this crap is because I want to be the guy that knows the screenplay guy. I want to be on the stage during the Oscars because I put
Oh,
2
Pierre
words into the movie, right? So I get it. You want to be, we're famous, Pierre. We're Joe Rogan.
that's
Oh
right.
no, not Joe
Not,
Rogan, not Joe Rogan. somebody else. Pick
You
somebody else.
got,
Pick
not
somebody.
quite him.
I like Joe Rogan.
Pick somebody
He
else.
got some.
Pick some.
He got some.
Pick
He
somebody.
got a few issues right now, though.
Pick somebody
But
else.
that one's probably not Oscar nominated, but one of my other one is.
Yeah, but I got to
Oh
start
man,
somewhere.
You got to start
that's what's
someplace.
up. And Pierre's been talking about his screenplays for a minute, so like I'm glad that we getting some traction on that.
We getting some traction. We're getting close. We're getting close. So you'll know when I put on Facebook like everybody at the cave, 2 fingers. No, I'm
You know
joking.
what I'm saying? Do it, do it. I want to
That's,
be there. Let me come
that's,
in today.
that's why I got to get a co-writing app. I got to change one scene, and then I got to be in the credits at the end of the movie. With Andrew Hicks. Then
with Andrew.
I don't even need to get paid. I just want a credit without doing the work.
Without doing the work, huh? Typical
Yo,
Trump way.
I could be your guy that gets killed in the first scene. It'll be dope.
But no, man, you've been spectacular. So
Thank you.
thanks for coming on. I know I hit you up short notice. Andy was like, "We need a guest," and I was like, and I thought of you because I'd been meaning to ask you about it, and so this was the perfect opportunity. So thank you again. Really.
Thank you
So
for having me.
this was episode 10. Anybody that's watching this, thank you very much. We're going to have some merch coming up here. So if you want to support the show and help pay for the bills, because this is expensive to put together, we'd appreciate it. We have our first sponsor coming in Brigadier Wine. We're not going to make any money of it, but I'm going to start shelling my shit. It's all good. If you want to be part of this, let us know. We can put you down there in the guest box. Jeff, I'm calling you out because you blanked us and you should have been part of this. You had the warning. Where's Big Ass Craig? Where's Nick? Where's Derek? All right. These are people. Hey, Pierre, you said you had receipts.
I have receipts. The president got receipts. That's who
All
got
right.
receipts. He got receipts from the Corona. I'm not
Okay.
giving him the receipts. The Corona came up.
All right. I didn't want to leave anything off the agenda. All right. So very good.
One final thing, we do
Yeah.
need to do Jason this favor because Jason has a blog. Let's give him a couple of moments to actually speak on it if you want to.
Oh man, thanks. I appreciate that. I have this blog. It's on WordPress. It's like Jason Austin Conversation or Jason Conversations. And I need to remember what it's actually called.
You don't know your own
Not-
URL.
WordPress.com. It's called Jason Conversations at wordpress.com. JAISYN conversations.wordpress.com. It talks about a bunch of things, mostly racism, mostly social acts, and things like relationship, things like marriage, and everything like that. And how all men want sex and will pay for it, and things like that's the title of one of them actually. But thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about it. I talk about the N word, and I talk about different social justice things that just to try to help people to understand what it is to be a black man in America and what it means to have that plight as an individual and as a culture. And JAISYN conversations.wordpress.com. Thank you.
So the entire point of our podcast is twofold. Number one, and I say this over and over again. Number one, we feel that black people and white people and different people in different groups, generally speaking, don't do enough to reach out across lines and talk to each other. Conversation leads to understanding. It leads to perspective. At minimum, it leads to sympathy, if not empathy, if not change. So it's harder to vilify somebody if you've talked to them and saw that they're a real person and that maybe they have a point. Someone who is in favor of cutting taxes because it helps stir the economy may think that someone who wants to raise taxes is a bad person. But when you sit with someone who says, this is what can happen if we raise taxes a little bit, it's hard to write that person off as being an idiot. So there's fiscal lines to be crossed. There's racial lines, sexual lines, meaning women talking to men about what women go through. I don't understand that. I've never understood that. I don't do that. Yeah, you do a little bit. You just don't realize it. And it happens a lot more for people who are less sensitive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other part of it is we think that there's not enough people in the middle that speak for common sense, that the people who are on the extremes, who have an extreme viewpoint, also have the megaphones on social media, and that we are all too politically correct and afraid of each other, and we will retake the middle and re-seize the conversation. You've spoken very well to that. So I appreciate you being on here and, come back. And
please.
We want to
anytime.
We want to keep doing this. So we're going to do this and,
this was so fun
for the next decade.
And we definitely need to hit it hard here because we do have the election coming up. We got to cover it. I know one of the things that we were going to do this the night Obama got elected, and this was back when I was poor. And so like my car broke down right not too far from where Andy was at. I'm not joking. And like right after that, I think that weekend I moved out where I was at, moved back in with my parents because I was waiting for my house to close on my house, which I wasn't closing for another 2 weeks. And so right after that, finally I closed on my house a couple of weeks later and bought a brand new car. So we were supposed to do recording that night of the election that history happened. So I don't know if we want to try to do that again or not. But
like I said, we've got we got 4 weeks. We've got 3 debates, and we don't know what else is going on. We have nobody who's watching this, and there is no audience. There is no needle being moved by what we're doing, but we're being on record. It helps me to not go too conservative, to not become too sensitive or desensitized. It helps me put things in perspective. It helps me vent. I think that it's true for everybody that comes on here. So there's something to be gained from just for ourselves from having this conversation during the election. And we want to be on record. We can't do it after the fact as nearly as well as we can do it while it's happening. So yeah, we should do some more shows. We will do some more shows. We'll try to get some guests, but we've got plenty of reasons to do so. So look for more episodes to drop between now and election time. Look for us to do episodes after the election, because I think that election night is not the end. I think it's the beginning of phase 2. I seriously do. And so there'll be more of this coming. We've had fun up to this point. We're going to have a lot more fun when this is all settled down, regardless of the result. But it's time to be serious. And Trump has got to go. We strongly agree with that. And we will make that argument to anybody who will listen. And we'll listen to the argument of anybody who wants to counter it. So, if Nick wants to come on here and be a pro-Trump person, if he used to be and he's changed, that's a valid perspective as well. Bring it. We'd be happy to hear it. We will be tactful. We're not assholes, unlike your president. So, we can be polite and tactful. Bring it. It's true. It's true. So that's enough. Yeah, this is the longest show we've ever done, maybe close to it, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that's after
I talk a lot,
the first hour that didn't make it on tape.
I know.
My wife is going to kill me.
Oh well.
Oh well, yeah. Why do we
It's all
care?
good. Why do you care? I mean, your wife's gonna kill
Yeah,
you.
that's when we're gonna do the Jason Conversation podcast about wives and why they want to kill their
buddy.
husbands.
That's actually a pretty good one to do.
And not thinking that we want to do it back.
Right,
So,
right. So thank you for watching. Sorry to be long-winded, and we are going to end the show